All right, we are live. Good morning, everybody. I just realized you might be listening to the audio version of this. So we're recording this in the morning and we're recording this live on YouTube, but you may be listening to the audio version. That's fine. So welcome to
Yes.
episode 310 of the Hoots Podcast. Now, you may be thinking, that is I'm hearing a different voice opening the show this week. It's a voice that's much more handsome. It's a voice that's much more clear. It's a voice that's much more,
Dashing.
or much more royal, much more higher up on the ladder.
Prestigious.
Prestigious, a little more higher up on the ladder
Yes.
of podcast. I'm totally kidding. No, this is Derek Stout.
No, keep going. This is great.
You want me to keep going? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, give me the whole show. I'm gonna build myself up. I'm going top. I'm gonna go.
Hey, it is your show this week.
So this is Derek Stout and Brother Carter. I am the guest host of the Hoots Podcast this week. Josh is finally, after 6 years, taking a well-deserved break. Everybody needs a little time to recharge and rest the batteries. And if you checked out episode 300, that was very obvious that Josh wasn't sure what was going to happen with the show. We're obviously glad he's continuing the show. But he needed some time off, and he absolutely deserves that time off. Asked if we would step in, and we are certainly happy to fill in because unlike other companies, there ain't no walkouts here. There ain't no walkouts at all in the Hoots Podcast.
We're going right for the gusto, aren't we?
Well, since one of the talents is somebody that I take great pleasure in dogging and making sure that
will happen on the show.
Absolutely will. So as you can hear, I am not alone. I am joined this week by a very special guest, somebody who is a 15-year veteran of the business, I think. Is that
going on 18, but
18. Wow. So an 18-year veteran of the business, somebody who knows his stuff, somebody who absolutely is a brilliant wrestling mind and has brilliant wrestling aficionado. You can hear him on the Heat Podcast, wherever you get fine podcasts, and we are so glad to have him here. Referee Tony S. Tony, good morning, brother. What's going on, my friend?
It is a pleasure to finally be here with you, and I believe it's the first time that you and I have actually done something together, you and I, so I think that's kudos to us. And again, Josh Lopez for episode 300, about a week ago asked us if we wanted to step in and take some of the heat, no pun intended, off of Josh here for this episode, and I'm glad to take part in it. I'm glad to ride shotgun with Brother Carter here, and it's going to be a good time. We're going to have some fun.
It's going to be great. And I was thinking about that too this morning. This is the first time you and I have had a chance to get to do anything together. I know we've crossed paths a few times, so I'm very, very excited about this opportunity.
Yeah, we've crisscrossed.
That's right. Nice 90s reference there. Nice old school 90s reference there. Very good. Very well.
That is what I do. Yes.
Yeah. So we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, the big news story of the week. We're going to dive into that right before we get into reviewing Raw and SmackDown. Tony will fill us in on some stuff about NXT and the global brand, the global promotions around the world. And then we will, of course, close with the flagship segment of our show. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about in that segment. I cannot wait to dive into that segment.
I'm glad that it's live and not via satellite.
Yeah, that's right. We are, listen, again, we do things live here, again, ain't no walkouts, ain't no anything like that. Right. We're going to get into that here just a little bit. Oh, yeah. I thought we would start though, Tony, I want to hear a little bit, since this is our first time to do a show together and to, for you and I to have, just have any really live interactions. We had one show together back on the Heat podcast. I think we did a WrestleMania review show a few months ago. But this is our first time. So would you mind just telling us a little bit, kind of a bit about your story, how you got started in the business, and just kind of your journey as a referee in the business? Because to me, I think that's so cool. Like, to actually, for me, to get to talk to somebody who's in the business, who understands the psychology behind it. So can you tell us just a little bit kind of about how you got your start and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. It's really, the beginnings are just this. I'm a wrestling fan. And when you're at that stage in life, it's always, you're kind of wondering, can you do this? Should you be able to do this? Because, there's going to be a lot of people that, think, oh, well, there's no way you're going to do this.
Right.
I started training in 2003, and the trainer and I had at the time, I'd actually met him at a independent live event where I live, and I'm not even kidding. I was looking at the ring. I was about third row, and I was looking at the ring, and I saw the referee for one of the matches, and I just said, "Man, I could do so much better than that." and it's not even a thing, because my best friend, one of my best friends, Joshie, who's a stand-up comedian, I've known him since high school. He was right next to me when I said that. We just, we found the guy who would eventually become my trainer. He at the time had a ring set up in his backyard, and we kind of started there. And then he kind of graduated to putting it into an actual facility. We had a couple students there. I did that for about a year, pretty much, and then took a little break. And then November of 2005 was basically my first live event, my first show. And it's basically been on the job training for the last 17, 18 years.
Wow. That's awesome.
It's crazy to think, because everybody just does the 1, 2, 3 part, and that's what you're accustomed to in the wrestling business, because it's the universal, okay, what's going to be here, like the nuances on how to do it and the nuances of making it look believable are so few and far between. It's ridiculous. I tell new referees all the time, I tell them that, you're just learning. You're in your baby step phase now. Once you get into you're working the bigger names and the bigger talents that are already on that level that you want to get to, and you have to push yourself up to get to that level. There's a whole new set of challenges that await, and I didn't figure that out until probably 3 or 4 years in. And from that point, it was okay, and referees are gonna have they're human, they're not perfect. It's I've had bad nights, a lot of referees have had bad nights. Of course, they're gonna get amplified even more, because they're referees, and I think there's not a great value of quality referees out there today. I think there's a lot of people like to play paint by numbers when it comes to referees today, and I see it all over the place. What do I mean by that? I think there's a lot of places out there that in which I've seen we need a referee. Here's a shirt. You got one? Get into the ring. And whether you're trained or not.
Got it.
And I see a lot of paint by numbers there. And for those of you who are inquiring, I'm not taking any shots at anybody. I'm just seeing it how I've seen it, and there's been training schools in where I've seen, and even where I'm at, where they're training referees, but there's no referees inside said schools to train said referees. So, and I'm not affiliated by any school, but I try, when I know that there are new referees or people that I haven't seen before, I try to help them out, take them aside. So even in the phase and in my career, I feel extremely blessed to have done it for as long as I have, and I'm going to keep doing it until it's not fun anymore, right, which could be another 10 or 15 years. But at this point, in my career, it's just, for me, I think it's about getting the opportunities and getting to the next step. I've been fortunate enough to work, some really great talents in some really good places. And the places are the things that I want to accomplish. I've done most of what I accomplished, and I think that there's a little bit more that I want to do. And I think as a referee, you have to do that. You have to set little goals, and even in, whether it's podcasting or any kind of business endeavor, any kind of personal endeavor, I think that there are little goals that you want to set yourself up for, and little goals that you want to accomplish to get to that level. And it kind of humbles you at the same time. But for me, I just feel really, really blessed to be in the spot that I am. And I said it on my show, and I think I said it on episode 300. The whole referee Tony S thing is not a gimmick. I've been that. I've earned that, and I always tell other referees as well. Don't just play the part, be the part. Right. And I think a lot of places like to play the part of referees, and I don't play. And I think that you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in the role you're playing. Yes, there are going to be other people that may not believe in you, and that's fine. Just another person that you have to prove wrong along the way.
Absolutely. And that's great information for all of us, just to, because you're a part of the show just as much as the wrestlers are. Wrestlers are expected to be characters as well, and I would assume that the referees are the same thing. And the best referees that I've seen, at least as just a fan, are the ones that are really, like you said, are really believing it, and they're actually selling, like they're playing characters as well, just as the wrestlers are. So what would you say is the one thing that most people that you need to know about being a referee that a lot of people don't see on television? So like something that you just, like you said, most for the referee, they just go in, it looks like, okay, they're just there to run around, count the three, maybe tell the person, hey, don't hit him, or hey, get him back in the ring, or whatever. What would you say is the one thing kind of that really separates the great referees from the good referees, the things that you might not see on television?
Get ready for a lot of communication.
Okay.
There's a lot of communication and relay that goes on in between those moments that are clouded by commentary or clouded by the crowd. And whether it's direction from guerrilla position and production, and there's some of the places, actually one of the places that I work with and work for, they have earpieces, which I definitely give a thumbs up to, because for years I was probably the only one who had it. But yeah, when it comes to that, there's a lot of communication that goes down, whether you have to cut time, add time.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, there's something along the lines of that. Or, as a referee, if somebody's injured and you have to call an audible on the spot. And, like there was a match that I officiated about 2 or 3 months ago, and somebody, they came back, but somebody separated their shoulder in a match within the first 2 minutes of the match. And I had to call him, and without gorilla position telling me, he's telling me, he goes, I can't move it. I can't put any weight on it. So I told him, I said, I told his opponent at the time, I said, roll him up, 1, 2, 3, let's get out of here. Wow. And sometimes that happens because you don't want to further any more kind of injuries when it comes to that. But there's a lot of communication that goes down in the ring. That's the main thing. There's another thing when it comes to being a referee, which kind of goes into one of my previous points, and that is the further you get along in the business, there are going to be a lot of people there's going to be some people that believe in you. There's going to be a lot of people that don't. And that's because of the longevity of the position. And maybe it's just things when it comes to being a referee that they don't understand, and which is fine. But I think that when it comes to being a referee, not just communication, but you have to present yourself in a way that's believable to the crowd, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like, for example, and I tell guys this all the time, look at mixed martial arts referees. Look at them. Like you said, look at the greats who have done it before.
Right.
it was something about them that you can't really put a pin on it. You can't really measure it, but they carried themselves as legitimate. In the world of pro wrestling / sports entertainment, the referee is that hidden piece that you wonder, depending on how they carry themselves, is it legitimate or is it BS? And as a fan, you want to believe in what you're watching. You want to believe in what you're seeing. And when a referee does their interactions with somebody, and you kind of look in on how they're carrying themselves and how they're projecting their voice, which that's a big one. They're, projecting, you got to, the wrestlers wrestle big. They look big on TV. Well, as referees, you have to ref big.
Sure.
You have to do that. So, but when you look at it, you look at the referee, and depending on who it is, whether it's legitimate. This guy's going to be by the book. Okay, we're going to have a good match here. Or, okay, to us, okay, this guy, I don't know about this guy, and I don't know about this referee. Is it maybe? So, but that's the cachet that you bring as a referee. And the more that you do it, and the more that your track record continues to improve, that's when the opportunities come. But for me, communication is key. If you don't have that communication with the talent in the back or in the ring, then your career is, in my opinion, your career is over before it even started.
Yeah, because you're essentially the third person of the match, and making sure that everything. Yeah. Because I could definitely see, like, if you just kind of go along like, well, what do I do? That can be a bad news, especially and that I would think that would make the talent, the wrestlers, feel uncomfortable too. Like, they're not able to perform their best, knowing that they don't have somebody that, should a situation occur, somebody that can take the reins and be like, okay, here's what we're going to do.
Right. And, they say the best referees are the ones that you don't notice. That's true to a fault. Because you can also say that about the bad referees too. Because if the bad referees are, if they're not, performing up to the standards of the match, the talent may just tune out the referee and just kind of go with the motions and not even listen to the referee. And that's not good for anybody.
Sure.
So, and you kind of have to notice the referee, because once you bring that cachet with the talent, and I'll be honest, the people don't lie. You can say a lot of things about wrestling, but the fans that are paying the tickets, that are being a part of the, at least for me, for the independent wrestling events or whatever, they're not going to lie. If a referee does something that's good and it's believable and you're asserting your authority, that's a positive from the fans, not a negative.
Sure.
And to some people, which is true to a fault, a positive from the fan, a legitimate positive from the fans, sometimes is viewed as a negative to the talent. Because sometimes, if, like, for me, there's been times where I've been, I assert myself when it needs to be asserted, because that's the believability. Referees are supposed to help the match and make believe in the talent. Because if the referee is not giving any BS, then okay, this is going to be legitimate. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to lose.
Right.
And if you're asserting yourself the way you should, the fan, all right, this referee's there. We know there's not going to be any BS with this referee or that referee. We know there's not going to be any BS, and they like that. But the locker room, some of them may not. Because they think, oh well, the referees aren't supposed to be cheered and this and that. The way I look at it is this, real quick. When it comes to, if you do your job right, you don't have to try. It's the simplest thing. If you do your job right and you do it effectively and it's consistent, you don't need to try to make anybody appreciate you or value you. It just happens. And the best part about it is, even though some people in certain promotions, they may not appreciate you, but there are people who aren't even there that already know who you are and they want to work with you. And that's the hidden secret.
I like that a lot. And I would say you could say that about any profession, any industry at all. I mean, I've always noticed, and I tell this to people too, the best people in any field never tell you how good they are.
Right.
They just let their work speak for themselves.
Right.
And just go out and they grind, and people will notice. They just keep their nose to the ground, they're humble, and someone eventually says, wow, that's really, really good. I want to know more about this person. I want to work with this person, especially in anything with entertainment. I'm in the arts for a living. So entertainment, the arts, really anything that's not corporate or business or like, related, like it's anything in the arts or in sports or something like that. Like you just let your work speak for yourself. And I think that's a really excellent point.
Yeah. And you have to do that.
Right.
Because the longer that you do it, the more that some people are going to go, well, wait a minute, he or she, they've been around for this long and we haven't gotten to them yet. We need to scoop them up. We need to let's get them.
Sure.
And that's where your longevity comes in. And then, like, again, that's where the opportunities are going to come. Now, that could be from any line of work.
Well, and again, if you're a really good person and a humble person as well, people are going to want to work with you. Right. So, like, again, if you go around saying, hey, I can't believe they didn't notice me, because I'm thinking of, you said earlier about the talent who may be upset because the referee was getting cheered or whatever. That to me says that those talent is in it for the wrong reasons. They're like, exactly. I'm a star. I'm a star. I'm a star. And they're more worried about building their brand than they are honing their craft.
Yeah, they're worried about building the brand, but they don't understand is that they themselves are the brand. I'm a brand as a referee. Ring announcers are their brands themselves. Mm-hmm. Everybody, no matter what kind of walk of life you are a brand, and you're a representative of either this side or that side. But you yourself are a brand, and people more or less want to find something to believe in you with. And in wrestling, yes, people are going to get upset that the referees are cheered and stuff and this and that. It's been going on with me for 18 years. It's not going to stop anytime soon. But that's the way that it is in New England. Because I think that I bring something that hasn't been tapped into in New England. I'm, number one, I have to go into this route. Number one, I'm an African-American man. That's not, that hasn't happened in New England. I'm a tall referee, which that in itself is taboo in the industry.
Really?
Because they like referees who are shorter or as tall as the actual talent, because the perception is larger than life. I want the talent bigger than the referee. However, look at UFC and MMA referees. They are taller than the talents that they're officiating at.
Look at Herb
Dean, right? Exactly. Herb Dean, one of the best in the business. But here's my thing. When it comes to that, and like I said, I've worked with a lot of people, and the one thing is this: if your work speaks for itself, people can look at me and say, "Oh, you're too tall and you're this and that." But if your work speaks for itself, there's a reason why you were put in the spot to begin with.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, those talents are going to look at you differently and go, that was good. You kind of think a little bit differently. And plus, there's a whole legitimacy thing, and, it's just something that I think I bring a little bit something different to the table. The purists may not like that, but the legitimate people, they will.
Sure.
And that's what you have to look at.
Well, unfortunately in the entertainment industry, you just never know at sometimes what people are looking for or what people value.
But, and that's fine, because I realize that, hey, loyalty to certain people and places and promotions, they have an expiration date. And you could be with places and people for 10 years and 1 minute, and you could help build the company. And next thing you know, they put you in the dark and try to remove you from history. So, but that happens. But again, you move on and you find ways to kind of, surround yourself with the right people, talk with the right people, get yourself on a track, and you can either dwell on it or you can let it fuel you to get to your next opportunity. And for me, I officiate, once, whenever I can. But I always try to set myself up at least for that one, that one big shot that I see myself, whether it's an indie event or a national event, just kind of set myself, okay, let me see what I can do to get to this date at this time at this year. Let me see if I can do that. And it's just part of those goals. And yeah, it's hard. It's hard sometimes, but the best thing about the match, I was talking with somebody the other day. I'd worked with this gentleman, Landon Hale. He was out of Georgia. He's now he's moved up to the Northeast, and he just got married, and he's a chiropractor, and he's doing a whole bunch of great things. And so I'd met him last year. Just came up to do one of the shows I was at, and we had a great 15, 18-minute thing with a title match, and we've been in communication, and I worked with him the last show. And you never know, just that one interaction in the ring, just that one match, that could spark so much, and you get friendships and brotherhood and stuff like that. And it's like what Jeff Jarrett said, there's a lot of acquaintances and very few friends in the business, and that's true to a fault. But at the end of the day, just keep going. And I always tell people, and especially new referees, I always tell them, don't forget why you fell in love with this and why you wanted to start being a referee or being anything. Because the moment that you forget, the love and how you started it, it's over.
Right.
And, you just have to stay blessed. And like I said, I've been doing it for a long time, longer time than most people would like to admit. And that's fine. I will take that and I will run with it as far as I can until the next opportunity comes.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I love that. I tell people I'm in the music industry primarily as a music teacher, and I tell people that too. It's just like those days where you're having to, this is really tough, and you're having to do all these things that are not music related, and your groups aren't sounding good, and you're not, if you're a performer, you're not sounding good. You just, God, I got to do something else. I got to go sell used cars or something like that because this ain't working. But then you go and you remind yourself there was that moment, and I know there was that moment for you. There's that moment for anybody when they realize this is what I have to do for a living. And so you just have to try to remind yourself what those emotions you felt during that time and what caused you to feel that emotions, whether it was an external source or something internally or something like that. So I think that's great. Last question I have for you, and I know this has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed this. Who have been some of your favorite talent you've gotten to work with over the years? And it can be people that we know, people we don't know, people that maybe some people that you currently enjoy working with. Who are some folks that like if you got the opportunity, you would want to work with them again at a moment's notice?
There's a lot of talent, man. And it's too many to name.
Sure.
Let's start with the people that we know. Let's start with that.
All right.
So the people that we know, Christian Cage has to be first.
Really?
Simply because that was the first real modern big name that I officiated. And it was kind of weird, like it's that spot where, I'm 2.5 years into the business at the time.
Wow.
And I'm in the ring with, Christian Cage. At that time, he was, former 2-time world champion. And I remember my best friend and I, it was kind of weird. My best friend and I, when we met in high school, I was an Edge and Christian fan and he was a Hardy Boys fan. Slowly but surely, I converted him into an Edge and Christian fan to the point where I would call myself Edge and I'd call him Christian. And I remember he said, and we talked about this when him and I were on the phone last week, and he said, if you ever got to work with the real Christian Cage, I would be so pissed off. I would never speak to you again. And that was 12 years ago, and he still speaks to me every week. But
that's awesome.
But that was the first one, because that was the first, like, am I really in here with Christian Cage? Like, you know, that was like one of the tests for me. Danielson is one. He's another one.
Oh, nice.
That was a big test for me, just because you see him all the time. You know, you see him in Ring of Honor, and at that time WWE, and I worked with him. He just come back after the whole Justin Roberts necktie thing, and we were able to get him on a live event. It was him versus Tommaso Ciampa at the time, who wasn't signed, but you could tell like he was going to get there sooner or later. So it was a whole submission match kind of thing, and it was Danielson and Ciampa, and just to be in that spot. And I watched that from time to time. I just really cool to be a part of. You can call him Ivar from the War Raiders. I call him Warbeard Hansen. If you call him way back, you can go to Handsome Johnny Hayes, you can go to the brand new bad Todd Hansen, but Hansen in general, real stand-up guy, a guy who's busted his butt to get to where he is currently. He's always done that. Biff Busick's another one. Oni Lorcan, the WWE fans, he's been another one. Just a guy who, there's a lot of real genuine and a lot of fake genuine in the business. And, the guys, especially Hansen and Biff, who I just mentioned, they're definitely, the real genuine. I've worked with them countless times. Samoa Joe is another one for me.
That's cool.
Just because there is a little bit of a personal meaning behind that. Behind the Samoa Joe thing. I'll give it the short story. So I wasn't even a year in the business at the time, and I had a small, depending on the sources that that you read, I had a small cardiac event.
Oh.
At a indie show that I was officiating at the time. Not lucky for everybody, and lucky for me, this was not in public. This was in the locker room area. Unbeknownst to me, I was born with something. I was born with something that I didn't even know at the time. Long story short, I wake up 5 days later in Boston in a medical room, and I'm like, "Where the hell is my room? Where is my where's my PlayStation? Where is everything?" They tell you what happened. I'm like, okay, is everything gonna be all right? Yeah, just it's fine. Just you're born with this little extra electrical circuit. You went into cardiac arrest, and and you died, and you came back, and we're gonna burn this off in a couple of days, and everything will be all right. So then I get a phone call because one of the people that I was one of the promotions I was working for had somebody working for them who was working for WWE at the time. So I get a phone call in my hotel room, and it's like half the guys in like the core TNA roster at the time. And it's weird because everybody who called me that day, I end up working with some way, shape, or form or another. But that was, I thank Joe for that. Abyss is another one. I love Abyss. Love him. He's great. A bunch of the ECW guys. I just really anybody who I was ever fortunate enough to be in the ring with. You take something from that experience. To people that you may not know about. I talked about Landon Hale. Keep your eyes out for him. Ilya Markopoulos, somebody who I've worked with, and he's a young vet. He started when he was 14 years old. in the business, and he's a trainer at the Lockup Pro Wrestling Academy in Fall River. But he's solid guy. He calls me Earl. I call him Hunter. That's how we work. Vern Vitalo's another one. Guy who I was able to work very first match in the business and see him progress and being in the ring and the evolution of the character. Just a lot of good hands. And while I'm on that, I got to shout out the women too, because I have to do that. Alicia Edwards for me is at the top of the list. She started a little bit before me, but she's been around a long time. And I'm really happy to see her get the opportunities that she's gotten. And her and I have, I think I've worked with her in the last 10 years than probably any other referee in the business. And I don't, and trust me, she hits as hard as anybody. I can attest to that. She almost broke my nose one time. Just punching me just one time. I was like, holy crap! She was like, you're supposed to put your hands up. And I'm like, I'm a referee. Why am I going to do that? Alicia Edwards is one. Mickey James is another one. Damn near one of the GOATs in my opinion.
For sure.
Lufisto's one. Athena's another one. Just a lot of, and I have to, sorry Derek, I have to say this, but I have to put Sasha Banks in there simply because I was there in the beginning.
Okay.
So just to see her evolution in there. But back when she first started and was doing independent live events at the time for New England, 95 times out of 100 I was her referee.
Oh wow.
So I was her referee for the first match she ever had and the last match she had before she got signed and went to developmental and then main roster. And 90% of the matches in between that 2-year period, I was a referee.
That's cool.
Case in point, which I was alerted this, if you go to WWE now, if you go to the Peacock app, they have that Evil series that they're doing.
Yep.
And they did one on her. There is a cameo of yours truly raising her hand in the beginning moments of that episode.
Wow,
so
that's cool.
And I was alerted this, and I was like, that, like you said, I was like, that's cool. I had to put a Carlito in there. I'm like, that's cool.
That's cool.
I was like, and by the way, just like Carlito, it's not fun to have an apple spit in your face.
I believe that.
That is not cool.
I believe that.
But yeah, just I take everything, whether it's the NWA thing I did last year, or I spent 10 years with with one promotion. I work with Atlantic Pro Wrestling. I work with I'm their head referee. I work for Lucky Pro Wrestling, which you've heard me talk about. I'm part of management there. I'm head referee there. I do a lot of things there. But professional wrestling has helped me wear a lot of hats, try things that I maybe if I wasn't in the professional wrestling or sports entertainment business, maybe I wouldn't be able to do. And I think just to be able to try new things and be able to do certain things. And sometimes you just have to be tested like that. But, I'm fortunate to have worked with so many places and so many talents over the years. And, from the Mike Bennett's and Bob Evans and Vinny, don't call me Jeffrey Nero Marsalia's and the Matt Tavens and, the Eddie Edwards. And then I look at all the talent that I've been able to work with. I've been fortunate enough to do that. And I look forward to all the new talent that I'm looking forward to working with in the future. The George Oles and the Shalance Royals and, the Little Mean Kathleen's and the Beccas, and there's a lot of people that I've worked with, and there's a lot of people that I haven't been able to work with, and that will change pretty soon. And I look forward to that. And just by that, it keeps me humble. It keeps me humble, and it keeps me sane at the same time. And I'm not afraid. Even Anthony Green, August Gray, he started as a referee, and then transitioned to being a wrestler. And then he got signed, and he's still doing his thing. And even the T-bars, the Dominic Dijakovic, the Donovan Dijaks, or the Dijaks, and whichever name he went by over the last couple of years, I worked his first match too. And then,
oh, cool.
And then, so it's a lot of things that you've been able to do. I got to throw out Brian Malonis in there, because I believe pound for pound, he is one of the best pro wrestlers on the planet. And he's always kept it real with me. And, professionally and personally, he's always kept it real with me. But there's a lot of places that I've gone, and you just have to be thankful for all the opportunities, because one of these days those opportunities aren't going to come anymore, and you have to be prepared for that. But at the same time, I'm having fun. Just doing the thing, going out and reffing my matches and working with these talents and talking to the promoters and talking to production, just having fun. And that's part of the big takeaways from it. I'm just having fun.
For you, man, dude. This has been awesome. Thank you so much, Tony. For
all right, show's over. No,
I hope you've enjoyed episode 310 of the Hoots Podcast. Yeah, don't worry about AEW or anything. Don't even worry about that. No, this is
brother. We're not going to talk about that.
Oh, believe me, we're going to talk about AEW. But no,
I appreciate it.
Oh, this is great, man. Like, I've always wanted to hear your story and just hear kind of, it's for me, like, I'm just some schmo, some fan who's lucky enough to have a platform to give his opinion.
I'm just a schmo too. We're in the grand scheme of things, the referee thing, it's, I don't see anything, that stands out, about me. I take the referee thing very seriously, as I should. But me, it's like the song says, I'm just a regular, everyday, normal guy. And I'm just, I'm a wrestling fan, but I'm privileged enough to be a part of the industry and just be able to step inside of a ring and just do my thing for 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 minutes a night, times 3 or 4 times a show, and then go home and be completely exhausted, and then wake up the next day and go, man, it was worth it. When's the next one?
Right.
And you have to keep that. And like I said, I realize in the totem pole, yes, I'm not as known as a lot of the other referees that you see on television. That's fine. But just remember, I have been around just as long as most of the referees that you see on television. Sure. So, but I look at it as, hey, I'm just a regular, everyday, normal guy. I'm just blessed to be able to do something for as long as I have. And and like you said, you have a platform, whether in the music field and in the Hoots Podcast. I have a platform too. We just decide to use it properly.
Shocking. Amazing how that works, isn't it?
I know, it's wonderful. That's why they call me King of the Segway.
What a beautiful segue that is. Speaking of segues and fans, let's get to some questions. We've got a few questions that we always send in, the Good Brothers Q&A. Most weeks you can send your questions to Josh Lopez. You can follow him at Josh Lopez Media. I was sent some questions this week at Derek Stoughton by a wonderful friend of the show, Chris Zeleta. You can follow him at X Team Zeleta
24X.
Yep. A great contributor to the show as always. And he's got some great questions for us. So let's jump right in. He says, Brother Carter, good brother Derek Stoughton, I know you and Tony will absolutely crush today's episode. Here's some questions. First question he has is thought on Raquel Rodriguez's performance last week on SmackDown. Tony, we'll start with you. What did you think about Raquel Rodriguez's debut?
Can you roll the R again?
Raquel Rodriguez.
Thank you.
I got you.
Yes. That was actually in my notes here. Yes, I know. Gee, that could be used in so many connotations.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
One.
We have to edit that out in post.
Yeah. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was a good showing. I think it was a showing that on the main roster it needed to be had, especially with the talent like Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey carries that name recognition. You can like her placement or not, but she does carry that main crossover recognition, which is what you need in WWE. And the fact that she was able to hold her own with Ronda Rousey, and you knew the outcome was going to be Ronda wins, and a lot of people just are going to be upset by the fact that Ronda won. Big deal. The fact that Raquel she held her own,
correct,
with somebody the stature of Ronda Rousey, I think it's a big plus for her. And maybe Raquel in the future she'd be able to also hold her own with the standards of the division. Maybe a Charlotte Flair when she gets back, or a Bayley if she returns, or any of the top tier talents on the SmackDown women's division. So I don't think Raquel's there yet. I think she's got a long way to go, but I think that match that she had with Ronda Rousey, I think it sets things up for her should she continue to go up.
Yeah, you echo my sentiments, and you said it perfectly. I wrote down in my notes. I think you can definitely tell she's still a little bit green and still trying to figure out, how things work on the main roster. Obviously, she was a superstar in NXT, has the look, has the gimmick. They see a lot in her, and she's definitely got the look. I think she could be a big star, especially on SmackDown, where if you look at the current state of the women's divisions right now. Raw is stacked,
loaded
talent. Raw is absolutely stacked with talent. And on SmackDown, you've got Charlotte Flair, you've got Ronda Rousey, and then who else?
It's like the NBA draft lottery that just happened.
Right.
You know who's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
But you also know where that drop off starts.
Correct.
And that's where it is on SmackDown.
100%. You've got Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey who have clearly established themselves. Go back and watch their match from WrestleMania Backlash. They've clearly established themselves as I think, the two best in the world. But then, now Charlotte's away for about 6 weeks. So who's left? I mean, you've got Raquel is clearly going to be one of the names that's going to be in there going forward. So
right. And now they have a lot of work to do between now and those 6 weeks.
Correct.
To kind of get those talents that maybe you haven't thought about in a couple of weeks or maybe a month, to maybe get them up there. But then again, when Charlotte Flair or when that top tier talent comes back, what is the plan for them then?
Correct. And that's what I was wondering too. How do you get them back? Are you just going to throw Charlotte Flair right back in with Ronda Rousey, which again, I'm not complaining about,
right. But how many times can you do that?
Correct. At some point, you've got to get something fresh. You can't have them go at each other for a year or something like that. So you've got to get somebody fresh in. When they move, and we'll get into this when we get into the analysis of Raw and SmackDown. I was surprised they moved Lacey Evans over to Raw because I thought Lacey Evans could have been a great potential opponent for Ronda Rousey,
especially with the space that we talked about that SmackDown has.
Right.
And the fact that, Ronda Rousey saying that she's the baddest woman on the planet. Then you have Lacey, who legitimately fought for our country and served. Right. And that could be put into a storyline as well if it was put on SmackDown. We'll see what happens when she's over on Raw. But that would have been a great fit for the SmackDown roster if you wanted to put her in that kind of heel dynamic.
Right. And it's we haven't seen her compete on Raw, so she could be just making appearances to try to get her name back known again, and then she can And as we know, the brand split doesn't really exist anyway. So somebody could Rock and easily jump ship.
It does exist, Brother Carter.
Oh, I see. I see.
Wait. It does exist, Brother Carter. Only in 2K.
Bravo. 5657558.
Yes.
Okay. Next, well, this segues into another great question. When do we expect Bayley to return? And maybe this could be a way. Maybe they're getting Bayley to set her up for Ronda Rousey because we haven't seen Bayley in a while. It seems like she's been a little more active on social media lately. So maybe Bayley could be an opponent for Ronda Rousey at Hell in a Cell. That possibly. I don't know what you think about that.
that could work. And like you said, she's a little bit active on social media. Bailey since not this past WrestleMania, but she was injured, and now she's on the mend. She's going to be a name that they're going to follow, and that she's going to be a name that immediately when she comes back is going to go into that top tier that we had talked about.
Right.
So the question is it going to be Bailey and Ronda? What if, hypothetically, Ronda drops the title between now and then? So there's a lot of questions there. I don't know when Bailey's going to return. And to be honest, I don't need to know that.
Right.
I'm actually glad that, Bailey's kind of keeping and WWE, I think, are keeping this return from us. I think as most professional wrestling fans, they want to know when, where, how, why, if, and all that. And just like you, I want to be surprised.
Yes.
I want to be surprised by when she shows up, and I also want to be surprised by what she does.
Yes.
Because that first interaction between her and that talent, that's going to set up everything to the next chapter of Bailey's career going forward.
100%. I'll tell you the other name that I would love, and I've been waiting for this, for her to finally get back to the single scene, is Shayna Baszler. I think this is I think this is a perfect opportunity to cut Shayna loose from Natalya, let Natalya go do her thing in NXT. She's doing great in NXT, by the way. And I'm glad Natalya's down there kind of working with that younger talent.
Yes.
But Shayna Baszler needs to be the ass-kicking machine that we know that she can be. So please, this would be a great... How easy is it to set up a story between her and Ronda? It's so easy.
I am remiss. Why did I not say it? When I was talking about the women that I've worked with earlier on.
Oh.
How did I not put in Shayna Baszler? Great segue.
This is again, you talk about you being the king of segues.
Well, hey, listen.
You got the segue thing figured out here, brother.
1A, 1B, brother. The way Shayna Baszler, and I said it on the previous show that I did, the current show that I do, and I'll say it here. If you cut Shayna Baszler away from the tag team scene, do the narrative of you put me in with this person, you put me in with that person, and the spotlight is always on them, not on me. She could be marketed as the female version, like she was in NXT. She could be the female version of Retro Taz, a complete 150% ass kicker, put her in her element, and she would beat her and Ronda, but everybody is picturing the four horsewomen against, the four. Well, guess what? I've said it and I'll say it again. In my opinion, that idea is completely out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And that is completely out the window, and there's no point in getting the glass back together. It would be great, however, if, like you said, if Shayna and Ronda were together at first, and then Shayna starts to slowly turn her aggression up on Ronda, because Ronda's getting the notoriety, Ronda's getting the fame, Ronda's getting her face put on posters and collector cups, and she's in everything. Shayna's not that good. No, Shayna can be inserted in a spot to be a main event player.
Yep.
You can't say she wasn't that in NXT, because she was. She was damn near headlining takeovers in NXT because of it. And plus, Shayna's been in the WWE system longer than Ronda has. There's advantages there too. But Shayna definitely needs to be that 100% ass-kicking, don't F with me machine. Get away from the tag team scene. She's already done that. There are hiding whatever kind of negatives that they're seeing in Shayna Baszler. Let Shayna Baszler shine. Get up to that spot and have her be the unbeatable champion.
I love it. That brilliantly said. That's exactly what I think too. That's great. Okay, next question. Do you gentlemen like the team of Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland? I'm indifferent. It's fine. We'll talk about this when we get into our flagship segment, but they can beat up jobbers, and that's great. But when are we going to get to see them against real competition on AEW television? You know, because they probably face folks on their YouTube show. Fine, great. The casual fan does not watch their YouTube show. The casual fan probably doesn't watch Rampage. You know, so I'm indifferent. I think it's fine. I think they're both talented, but I'm indifferent. What do you think?
They're talented individually, yes. The question is, why be a team? There's a difference between being a legitimate tag team and a partnership. This is not a legitimate tag team. This is a partnership. Right. So the real question is, when is their test coming? Are they going to be able to face, what would happen if you put them in against Red Dragon? Or you put them in against, the World Tag Team Champions?
Right.
Or you put them in against FTR. Then you would see the real test. I'm indifferent on it. Whatever's going to happen between now and then, whether it's just a way to put them together, to break them off into singles, that could happen. But for now, I'm okay with it. But when the real test comes, we'll see if it's a tag team that could last for a long time, or whether it's a partnership and they're going to break up sooner or later.
Well, yeah, because then you get somebody. It's interesting because some partnerships eventually evolve into tag teams. Like, look at RK Bro. They were just pulling together for some reason, and that's evolved into one of the top acts in the company. Now, to be fair, Randy Orton can make anything gold. Yes. And Riddle is at a moment's notice. He's ready to be a singles main event star. Like,
and he's another guy I should have put in there. No, I should have. And he, you're right. Some partnerships do evolve into tag team, but that's the chemistry over time that they're able to develop and build on television to make the people believe, even though in the back of your mind, eventually young Randall Keith is going to be the Viper that bites into Riddle, eventually. Who knows? But people like RK Bro, they're having fun with it. That's a good partnership that evolves into a tag team because they've been tested and it works.
You're right. Absolutely. I love that. Okay. Next question. Which two teams are heading to the NBA Finals? Are you an NBA fan, Tony?
Let's talk about this.
Okay. I love it.
Let's talk about the National Association of Basketball. So we've got Celtics, Heat.
Yep.
And I believe we've got Dallas and Golden State.
Correct.
Okay. So right now, Celtics are down 1-0, considering that they were, in my opinion, they deserved to lose that game. They were asking for fouls, begging the referees for stuff. They did not play. They begged to be kept in the game when they should have just played. Most people, especially on Boston Sports Radio, have the Celtics winning in 6 games. Right. The Celtics could be, on paper, if they get their stuff together, could be a better team than Miami. Problem is, Miami has home court advantage.
Right.
And they're going, in my opinion, Boston needs to steal game 2 to be in the series. And if they're able to close this, because they're not going to be able to close it in the Garden, but they need to be up by the time their games are finished in the Garden to close it in Miami. So I have, as of right now, depending on when game 2 is scheduled, I see a bounce back game for the Celtics, and I have the Celtics advancing to the NBA Finals. When it comes to the Western Conference, man, the Warriors are some bad dudes, man.
Dude,
Luka's great. Luka is, definitely the face of the Mavericks franchise, of course, going forward. But you're talking with people that they've won it. They've been through the playoff format. They've been through the grind. Luka hasn't been in it this far, and I just see something where it could be Warriors Celtics in the NBA Finals.
Well, when they announced, or once we knew who was going to be playing in the conference final games, my initial pick was Dallas and Boston, because I think Dallas they could be a team of destiny. Like they were firing on all cylinders. And then they got mollywopped last night by the Warriors. And I was like, oh, the real Warriors have finally shown up. Got it.
Yeah. Please stand up.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And that was just, now it could have been just a bad day at the office. As you said,
true.
We all have bad games. It happens. That's one thing I like about the NBA and the NHL, that really in baseball too, is it's like, it's a best of 7. It's not like in football where it's one and done. Because you really find out who the better team is over the course of 7 games. Now, I know logistically you can't do that with football, and I get it. But anyway, so my initial pick,
half the team is out for the Super Bowl. like imagine a 7-game series in the NFL. Like half the team would be walking with crutches down the main entrance ramp to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Do we have anybody for kickoff? No. All right, so we'd have to postpone this game. We don't have anybody. You can catch people. Yeah, you can catch people in the NFL. Anybody, because anybody could have a bad game anywhere and it'd be done with it. History could be made. You can't do anything about it. Correct. When it comes to, yes, Major League Baseball, but more specifically in the NBA and the NHL, those 7-game series, you've got to outlast your opponent. You've got to bring it every night because, yes, you can have a bad game. And yes, you could swap game 1 and game 2, but it's those games 3, 4, 5, 6 that really test the mettle of a team. But like you said, Mavericks were there, and then next thing you know, Mark Cuban was laid out on the sidelines, and he was looking up at Steph Curry going, what are you doing over here? Like, it was, 112-87. Come on.
Yeah. I couldn't remember what the score was, but I know they lost by like 30 or something like that.
Yeah, they lost by 25.
Yikes. Okay, moving on. Next question. Speaking, okay. Is there, oh boy. Is there
here we go.
Is there anybody else you would have liked to see last night face Britt last night as the Joker? Anybody? Like, I don't know. My mother? I don't know.
Does she get viral?
I don't know. We'll get into this more, I'm sure, when we get into our AEW. Let's save it for the AEW.
Yeah, let's save that. Let's
save that one. Yeah, but
let's save that. Yes.
Oh boy. Oh, here we go. Which NFL rookie offensive player will surprise people this season? I don't know if this is going to be a surprise, but I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett. I remember watching Kenny Pickett play when he was at Pitt, because I'm a big college football fan, and so I follow college football. And I think Kenny Pickett is the real deal. I definitely think he was the right quarterback to get drafted first out of the quarterbacks this year. And I think I think he will make the transition really well to the NFL. So he's one. And then the other one that I have is Garrett Wilson, wide receiver from the Jets. This one of those, I think that the Jets, they had a really great draft. And I could see them making some huge improvements because now they've got a coach that knows what he's doing. So
that's not Adam Gase. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you or I could probably coach the Jets and do a better job than Adam Gase.
That's
that
true.
being said,
yes.
We
would get paid handsomely and deserve our money.
Correct. Even if we were marginally better, the Jets fans would be like, "Give this man a raise. Give this man a raise."
One more victory than the other coach that had him. Yes. Well, put him up. Moving forward.
We wouldn't show up high at our introductory press conference. I'm just saying.
Yes. Hey, listen. Hey, CBD works once, but not as well for some people.
That's right.
But like you said, the Jets had a very good draft, and they deserve to get all the headlines they should. Mm-hmm. I think that, like you said, Kenny Pickett is the guy, and it's all about that transitioning phase, like we talked about from NXT to the main roster. That's what this is. And I think Kenny Pickett can be the one to really make a big statement going forward. And because if he can be able to make that spot in year one and continue to transitionally improve by the time his rookie year, his rookie contract is over, he could be in line for some big coin.
I think so too. I think it's good. But as we talk about often on this show, you just never know who's going to make the transition.
Right. And that's why we watch, kids.
Absolutely. You're telling me a few years ago, anybody would have thought Cooper Kupp out of Eastern Washington would have exploded as this year with the Rams? I mean, my God.
Well, you know how it is. It's all right, this player's good, but he's from this school. We don't know this school very well. But he transitioned it, and now he's 65% of household word because of the work that he put in this year.
Absolutely. I love it. And that's why I love when those when they try to draft those players from those FCS schools and those Division II schools who they wanted to go to those smaller schools because they knew they would have gotten instant playing time.
Right.
So
exactly.
So it's like I love when those success stories come through. I think that's great. Okay, I'll go with you first on this one. What quarterback wide receiver combo are you a huge fan of heading into this season?
Definitely not a Patriots one.
Good choice.
There's so I can't even keep track anymore, which is the beauty of the NFL, because the NFL from way back in the day when we were growing up, the NFL was not a 24-hour day sport you could cover. It was only, all right, this is when the draft starts. This is where the regular season starts. This is where the draft starts. This is where preseason starts. This is where the regular season starts. Conference games, playoffs, Super Bowl. And then we won't talk about you for about 6 months. All I know is this, when it comes to quarterback, wide receiver, there's way too many to catch.
Yep.
And a lot of attention, 9 times out of 10, isn't on the wide receiver who's doing most of the work to make the quarterback look good.
Correct.
Which is why, listen, if you're a quarterback, then you better be buying everybody some watches.
No.
So, all I know is, because I do follow NFL, but when it comes to quarterback, wide receiver, way too many to tell. But I do know this: you'll know by week 5 which of those quarterback wide receiver combinations will last until the end of which will last until the regular season is over.
Yep.
Which is a benefit and a detriment to the 18 games. But at the end of the day, hey, more football, more revenue, more ratings for Roger Goodell.
Correct. That was all about one thing, and that was the Monday.
Yes, that's right.
I'll give you one. And as soon as I saw this question, there was one that immediately jumped out to mind to me. And I know we talk more about the quarterback, focus on that. Me, it's Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, because Josh Allen, they are on the cusp of.
They're on a good team. They're on a good team. One of the favorites in the AFC East to definitely win the division and make a deep run in the playoffs. And I'm not saying they're at that Super Bowl yet, but if Diggs and Allen can make it work, they've got a hell of a chance.
I think so too. I mean, they had him up. You put that game against Mahomes, that game against the Chiefs. To me, that was still that was probably my favorite game of the year last year. That was unbelievable. What a performance by two of the greats.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was great. All right, and a couple questions for you, Tony, to close off the show. Or to close off the questions from Chris. What match would you like to see take place at Forbidden Door? We talked about this last week on the show. So now to you. What match would you like to see take place at Forbidden Door?
Well, let's see. Well, because there's a lot of talent in the New Japan roster, a lot of talent in the AEW roster. The problem is,
I can't wait for this.
Problem is, which roster is going to go over? And so, and plus, I mean, if we are going to see, okay, look, I was going to talk about the best of Super Juniors, but I'll just throw a little bit of it now.
Okay.
Wheeler Yuta is in the best of the Super Juniors.
That's right.
And he is the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, who was defeated by one of my favorite New Japan talents, Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles. So, and Robbie Eagles said in his press conference that he beat the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. He called out Tony Khan and AEW by name, saying that he wants a Ring of Honor Pure Championship match against Wheeler Yuta. I would love to see that match probably happen at Forbidden Door. I doubt that we won't see Jay White and Okada. That's not going to happen because they're already scheduled for a World Heavyweight Championship match within the next 6 weeks. So let's run the gambit. So I think the top people that most wrestling fans want as part of the Forbidden Door are Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson.
Yep.
Samoa Joe, and Punk CM.
Yep. Agreed.
So who are the 3 people in New Japan that could give Joe, Punk, and Danielson a run for their money? Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. One of them I've got to put Minoru Suzuki. Now, we can't put Minoru Suzuki in there with Samoa Joe because technically that already happened. And that was under AEW territory, under Ring of Honor / AEW rules. This will kind of be a little bit like that. So I would like to see Minoru Suzuki in the ring against either Bryan Danielson or CM Punk, primarily CM Punk.
Right. Well,
Danielson would have to be a technical master kind of a match. Mm-hmm. So being me, put Danielson in with a Zack Sabre Jr.
Yes, that would be great.
Put Danielson in with Zack Sabre Jr. I would put Minoru Suzuki against CM Punk, but you know what? Let's transition out of that. Give me Will Ospreay versus CM Punk, and I will be cool with that. Give me Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr., and I will be cool with that. Yep. And then for Samoa Joe, give me one of my main men. Give me Shingo Takagi against Samoa Joe.
That'd be great.
Those are my 3.
Here's the interesting thing about this too. I think going into this is because I will be shocked if this is not the case, but CM Punk is probably going to be AEW's world champion.
Yes.
So it's like, who would that person? Punk can't lose it.
Right? Exactly.
So who would
he couldn't lose if he was champion or not because it's in Chicago.
Oh, good point. Good point. So unless they want to create a mega heel from New Japan that may be all of a sudden signing with AEW.
Right.
I don't know, but
that's why, in my opinion, you put Will Ospreay against CM Punk. Because they're doing a storyline with Will Ospreay where every big match that he's been in since the New Japan Cup, he's had a controversial referee decision screw him out of the deal. So this could be another one where Will Ospreay faces CM Punk and CM Punk wins via either controversial referee stoppage or something like that, and Ospreay can use that to further his deal in New Japan, and CM Punk can use that. And like you said, CM Punk will probably be the AEW World Champion by the time Forbidden Door hits. That will be probably one of the 2 main events in it. Put the AEW World title on the line, and that would be that.
I love it. That's great. And then the last question we have from Chris this week, Tony, this one's for you. Which current free agents do you think will appear on Impact in the coming months?
Man, Will Ospreay said it because Will Ospreay gave a whole lot of love to Impact on Twitter. I think they've got a good solid tag division. They have a very good women's division, which hasn't really gotten the credit that they've had and they've deserved in the past maybe 10 years or so. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to free agents, you got to look at Gargano. He would be a free agent. He would work in Impact. There's a lot of other talents too. The problem is, again, and now that I think Impact doesn't have any kind of on-screen partnership with AEW, which I think benefits Impact because we want to be able to keep our eyes on them.
Right.
The problem is I think they have so much talent already. It's kind of hard to bring free agents over without releasing somebody. I think Impact is fine. Their roster's fine the way it is. I definitely would like to see a little bit. I like how they put in a little bit of the New Japan kind of spin in it. You know, they bring in Ishii and they brought in Jay White for a little bit of their storyline. So the Good Brothers, Motor City Machine Guns. I like the fact that they're using a little bit of a part of New Japan in it. As far as I think their roster is fine right now.
Cool. That's great. Yeah. I don't follow Impact that closely, but the few talent that I have, excuse me, I'm heard of and seen some clips of, it's very good. So we'll have to see what happens with them going forward. That's great. Chris, thank you so much for the questions. Great questions as always. And thank you for being a wonderful contributor to the show every week. So let's transition now. Let's talk about this week in WWE, and we'll go through SmackDown and Raw pretty quickly here because I think good shows. Not a whole lot happened because we do have to talk about the major storyline. So let's break down Raw and SmackDown and Raw real quick, and then we'll talk about the main piece of news, of course, that has come out and that actually affected what happened on Raw. So we'll start with SmackDown real quick. I thought SmackDown was a good show this week. We've talked about some of this stuff in the previous segment. So I just have a couple things I want to bring up, and Tony, I want to get your response to. I really like the opening promo from Randy Orton, Riddle, and Sami Zayn. I loved when Riddle called Sami Zayn Rusty. I thought that was hilarious.
And Riddle is so unpredictable. He's naturally unpredictable.
Yes.
But it also makes him likable. Because the way that he is on television with the voice and everything, that's who he is.
Really? That's how he is backstage in real life?
Come on, man. That's him. So it's just bringing it out for the world to see, and I've interacted with him, I've worked with him, and so it's that's who he is, very, natural, it's kind of easy going guy, whatever, but that's him. And a lot of people, they like it. So when Riddle and Randy are in the ring with the Usos, and it brings something out of Randy Orton that probably hasn't been brought out in a long time. Because it's like Brock Lesnar. It's like we see this fun side of Brock Lesnar. Like, when did this show up?
And it's fantastic.
Right. And then Randy, young master Randall Keith, it's like Riddle is like, why is Randy Orton riding a scooter? Or why is Randy Orton, the keys to Riddle's, like, you would have never seen that. But it works because of the combination. And I think that they bring a tremendous asset to it.
Well, and of course, it's a testament to how good Randy Orton is. Like, he's one of the
first ballot Hall of Fame.
He is in, and I use this word how it's properly supposed to be used. He's in elite territory. Like, Orton is in
air.
Yeah, right. There you go. Like with the Triple H and Undertaker scene, he's in that category too.
Yes.
And I've said this, and this may be controversial. I've already thrown Roman Reigns in that group too. I think Roman Reigns is amongst the glorified heir of Austin, Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, Cena, Orton. Reigns is in there.
Especially for this generation.
Down. Yes, hands down. Hands down. And a lot of people have given me, I wrote an opinion piece about it. Check it out on Wrestling Rumors. And I definitely got a lot of flack for that. Shocking. The internet wrestling community gave me props gave me a hard time for liking Roman Reigns.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, so good stuff there. We've talked about Ronda Rousey, Raquel Rodriguez. We've got the Baron Corbin Madcap Moss thing that's still going on. I don't know what you think about this, Tony. I'm kind of ready for this to be over and for them to each go on to do something else. My initial thought was, and I said this before, I thought Baron Corbin could be a great fit for Judgment Day. If he goes back to that old old
lone wolf.
Yes. You pair him up with Judgment Day. He's like, I tried to appease to the sheep. I tried to find my way through money and through whatever. But this is,
let me go back to being who I really am.
Yes, exactly. So I thought he'd be great. I think Madcap Moss is very talented. He's taken the storyline, this gimmick, and turned it into something incredibly entertaining.
Right. So and with Baron Corbin, and you know what? When it comes to Judgment Day, which we'll talk about on Raw, there's always a point in somebody's career where they eventually have to make that kind of character storyline driven decision. And if you were able to do the Baron Corbin Judgment Day thing, look no further than when he failed to cash in Money in the Bank.
Yep.
And you could use that as, I tried doing it this way. I tried doing it that way. Why am I trying something that I was wanting to work when I already had something that worked? And
I love it.
What if Corbin against Madcap Moss or Riddick Bowe, whatever his name is, what if he loses to Madcap Moss and has a complete nervous breakdown?
I love it.
It could work.
Of course it could. Baron Corbin, I think Baron Corbin is one of the most kind of under the radar talents that WWE has. And he's fantastic at everything he does.
And he's intelligent.
Yes.
And he's smart.
Yes.
And he knows what to do. And there's a reason why, for example, there's a reason why they're putting Madcap Moss with him. Because yes, we could put him here, we could put him here, we could put him there, but no, Baron's been through that NXT system, the heyday of the NXT system. Madcap Moss, he was kind of there, kind of in the end. We really didn't know what to do with him, but he's kind of been around. Corbin can take him under his wing and kind of bring him up and show him, okay, hey, this is what we need to do. And like you said, I think Corbin, definitely one of the top tier, under the radar guys, utility players of the roster.
Yep, 100%. And everybody needs that. It's an NFL team needs an offensive line. They need people to work with, to guard the main event players or whatever.
That's why there's a bench in the NBA.
That's right. And it doesn't mean anything less as Baron Corbin as an individual or as a talent, but that is his role.
That's his role. But you can have a role, but if you don't perform at it, and he does.
Correct.
And that's why there will be bigger roles for him in the future, because he works so well at this.
Yeah, because he's proven that he can do whatever.
Yes.
We'll talk about this when we get to Raw. Actually, I'm gonna save that for when we get to Raw. Okay. The only other thing I want to talk about this week, is we've talked about Ronda Rousey, we've talked about Shayna Baszler. I thought Butch is starting to look really good, and this gimmick is working for him.
Yeah,
it's working for him, and a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, they changed Pete Dunne. He's not the bruiserweight. Ah! Oh my God, change! No!" It's working fine, and he's doing a great job with it. So, why are people complaining? Pete Dunne is on SmackDown and is being featured. He's on the main roster.
You know what it is, because it's like, for example, it's like Triple H. We know Triple H when he had the long hair, when he had the mutton chops.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to stay like that forever. And then all of a sudden shaves his head completely bald. No, that's not the Triple H I know. Pete Dunne is the same thing. No, that's not the bruiserweight. No, that can't be. No, he's a former WWE UK champion, and he was this, and no, he's a tag team. No, he has to be the bruiserweight in WWE. This is why we can't have nice things, because we don't appreciate them when they evolve or change. Who knows? Maybe he wanted to evolve and change into it anyway. But he's right. But now he's in a spot. He's featured on main television. he's not being put in, matches, per se every week. So that's doing tremendous help to his, body, because it's a longevity, because everybody, you all have a count in your bump card. So, but at the end of the day, he's being used, he's being featured, and it works, because now he's only being referred to by one name. And when you see Sheamus and you see Rich Holland, eventually you're gonna see Butch. And because you want to know what he does and what he wreaks havoc, because the camera's focused on him. And when the camera's on him, you pay attention.
Correct. And he had great matches as Pete Dunne. Don't get me wrong. Like,
right.
He's a tremendous competitor. There's no doubt about it. But like you said, the character is evolving. You know, you're telling me. So like when John Cena was the doctor of thugonomics,
life.
Right. He evolved his character. And I'm sure people went, oh, no, what are you doing? You're changing the doctor of thugonomics. You can't do that.
He can't rap anymore.
I think it worked out okay for Cena.
Yeah. I mean, Cena's doctor of thugonomics, all of a sudden he doesn't rap anymore. He doesn't rap every week. He doesn't do this. There's no chain. There's no this. What's up with that? Word Life is gone. The time is now. That song sucks. I liked Word Life. But then it works out. The Rock, same thing.
Right.
He's a baby face, smiling, have tassels all over the place. All of a sudden, he's got an edge. Whoa, Rocky sucks. Now he's got an edge. Well, he sucks even more now, because he's with the Nation. And all of a sudden, you throw in some shades and some attitude and some swerve, and now all of a sudden he's the people's champ. Oh, we love him.
Right.
It's the evolution of the character. That's the beautiful thing about the wrestling business. It's the evolution of the character. That's why when as talent, and I'll say this, there will be an evolution in one of your favorite characters, whichever character or whichever superstar you like, whether it's WWE, AEW, whichever. There's going to be a character shift coming for your favorite very soon, and you're probably not going to like that either. But you're going to stick around for it.
Of course you will. And it will end up being just fine.
Fine, exactly.
It will end up being fine. Anything else you want to say about SmackDown, Tony?
No, I think you covered it pretty good.
Right. All right, let's switch gears to Raw, and we'll try to get through Raw really quickly, because obviously we need to spend some time talking about the big news story of the week. So just a couple things from Raw this week. Let's see. So we'll start with the cage match. I thought the decent cage match to open the show. I like the idea of Cedric Alexander keep trying to be with MVP.
Yep.
I think that's working. That's a great pairing for Cedric Alexander, and he's getting time to work with Bobby Lashley again. So I think that's great. So I really like that. Also, feel free to stop me if there's anything along the way. I'll ask you this. What do you think about Mustafa Ali and his return to television? Obviously he had a lot of, internet heat or internet backing. It's not really heat, internet backing. And now he's back on television. And I don't know if he's getting kind of a mini push. So I don't mind. I like Mustafa Ali. I think he's very talented. So how are you feeling about this whole situation?
I'm okay with Mustafa Ali being back and being given TV time. I'd still like to know, and obviously with Theory, first name Austin, being in the back pocket or side pocket of Mr. McMahon on storyline. So what is the deal with The Miz being special referee for all of Theory's matches?
Maybe there's a little bit of money.
Hey, listen, cash rules everything around me. So maybe the Miz has something to do with that. Maybe the Miz is trying to stop Ali's push. But the fact that Ali's in there with Theory, that means something.
Yep.
And whether you like the Miz or not, there's a reason why he's in this spot. Maybe it's to help Mustafa Ali along. And when it comes to valuable television time, you can't really say that he hasn't, Ali, that is, hasn't gone along with it. I think he's been doing good in his role, and I think it's going to lead to some bigger things down the line for him. You just have to capitalize on that TV time. Correct. And I think he's doing it. I don't have a problem with him being back. I think that eventually we want to see more from him, and I think we'll get it.
Yeah, agreed. By the way, speaking of utility players, Miz. I mean,
the Mizzle.
You're telling me like WWE will drop the Miz in anything and it will work because Miz is fantastic.
Because he's the Mizzle and he can do that.
Correct. I mean, and again, utility players can also end up, it can work out really well for them. He's got his own television show that's now on his 3rd season. He's an ambassador for the company. Like,
and I will say this about the Miz. One day, I mean, people like us, I think we appreciate the Miz because we've always appreciated the Miz.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of fans out there that will appreciate Miz when he's gone.
Good point. Yeah, after he's retired and
after he's gone and retired, and they'll think back to all the moments that he made them feel. I don't think the Miz is appreciated now as he could have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's due to the current generation of wrestling fans. But I think when it's all said and done, Miz will definitely get his spot where it's due.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people will appreciate the Miz when his career is over 2 or 3 years down the line. And I think nobody can do what he did. It's just like the song says, say goodbye to the good old days because they're never coming back.
I love it. Very, very, very cool. Okay. Going forward, good match with Riddle and Jimmy Uso. I thought that was great. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Judgment Day. And I know we're going to talk about that. So I wrote down here in my notes, Edge is explaining why jumping off of 20-foot ladders doesn't make any sense at all. And my first thought was, I wonder if AEW is watching this. I'm sorry. I can't help but take a dig at that. When Darby Allin, if he would have missed by it would have ended his career.
Well, you never know. I mean, it only takes one cutter from Sammy Guevara to Cody Rhodes off the top of a 20-foot ladder.
Correct.
Coincidental.
Anyways.
Yeah, but no, I think Edge is right. Like Edge, in a weird way, when you're a heel, you want to you believe in what you're saying because it's the truth, and you say it because nobody else has the guts to say it.
Yep.
And I think this is the final major character change of Edge's career. It's something that he wants to do to elevate this new crop of talent into superstars. Now, whatever happens after that is after that. But I think whatever happens now, I think he's going to make the most of it. I like Judgment Day, and I like the fact that, with the exception of a moment here or a moment there, we don't see him in the ring every week.
Right, which I think is good. But I will tell you, the person that's going to benefit the most from this entire Judgment Day storyline is Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
I think Liv Morgan, WWE sees something in her. They're putting her with AJ Styles and Finn Balor.
Finn Balor, yes.
Like
that's something.
Correct.
That's huge.
I think so too. So that's why I think the person that's going to benefit from all of this is Liv Morgan. And you could definitely tell she was still a little bit starstruck a little bit on, and maybe that was the gimmick she was trying to play. She was a little bit starstruck this week on television, being with AJ Styles and Finn Balor. But hey, she's getting profiled with some of the best talent in the world.
Right,
so
exactly.
I think it's terrific.
She's being featured. She's being spotlighted, and there is going to come to a point where there will be eventually a six-person tag.
Yep.
And we're going to want to see the interaction between her and Rhea Ripley.
Sure.
With the new Rhea and what's going on with Finn and AJ and Liv, but we're going to want to see that.
Yep. I'm going to want to see how Liv Morgan also interacts with Damian Priest and Edge. I think that could be really good too.
Yeah, and especially with the story that she automatically portrays just by being herself. Mm-hmm. That is something. Again, there's a whole bunch of we've seen the AJ Edge, AJ Priest, Finn Priest. We've kind of seen that dynamic happen within the last couple of months. But like you said, the wild card is Liv Morgan. She's the whole wild card in the whole thing. We knew it was going to happen for Rhea, but the whole wild card in this is Liv Morgan. I think she's definitely going to come out shining.
Agreed. Absolutely. Okay, going ahead. Cody Rhodes has established himself as the person that I want to see the most on Raw every week.
Yes.
It's fan freaking test. And him and Seth Rollins are complete magic together, both inside and outside of the ring. Cody Rhodes, whenever I see him on television, anytime, he looks so happy.
Yes.
Back. And you can tell that he's
almost like he looks free, doesn't he?
Yes. He looks genuinely like, I'm home. This is where I've always wanted to be. I had to go away for a while, reinvent myself. And which absolutely make a name for myself, make WWE want me back. And he did it. And over these last 2 months since his return, to me, he has, like I said, he's established himself as the person I want to see on Raw most every week. And I pop every time his music hits. I pop, especially when like the line wrestling has more than one royal family. That still pops me every single time. So another amazing promo from Cody Rhodes. We're going to get an incredible match between him and Seth at Hell in the Cell. I absolutely love every bit of this.
And like you said, Cody just seems free. Like he feels at home. And I think personally, he has a little bit more power and a little bit more confidence in his abilities. And I think that has a lot to do with it. You could kind of tell during the tail end of his AEW run, something was a little bit off with him. Yep. You could tell that he was kind of happy, but there was something there that put him off. And I don't think that he felt complete yet. And I don't think he's complete here yet. But I think he's a lot further off now than where he was 6 months ago. And, they're not putting him in with anybody. They're putting him with Rollins in an extended program from WrestleMania to Hell in a Cell. They're only putting him in with people that will, that he not only he trusts, but they trust in him to make sure that, hey, we're safe coming in. We're going to be safe going out. We're going to get through this. But everybody wins. Now we get a Rollins Rhodes 3 in a Hell in a Cell. That's going to be another show stealer. And to me, it's going to, whether it's a positive or negative, whether he wins or not, the story now for Cody Rhodes is the chase. It's the chase for him to get to that level that he talked about, to be WWE champion or to be the Universal champion, or probably for him to be the WWE champion. And that's the chase. We are now in the chase with Cody Rhodes to be WWE champion. And it's not going to be a straightforward edge either. Who knows? He could lose in Hell in a Cell, but we're still going to be with him for the chase. That's what we're in with him at. And I think it's great to see.
Absolutely. And I wrote an opinion piece about this too on Wrestling Rumors, but I think he's the only option to take down Roman Reigns right now.
He's it. I think with Roman Reigns, through no fault of their own, he's demolished everybody. And now they've bookboxed themselves into a corner. Okay, we've put him in with this guy. We put him in with this guy. We've put him in with Owens and everybody. Who are we going to put him in with? Somebody who he hasn't faced before.
No, or hasn't faced in 8 years.
In 8 years, and he's a completely different person from the last time that he faced him.
Yep. To me, I think he's the only option to take down Reigns. And again, no fault to anybody else in the company at all.
Right.
But
storyline wise, who's left and who's logical?
Correct. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about before we get into the main thing, and that's Kevin Owens is another person that I look forward to seeing.
So entertaining.
Every single week. Oh my God. It's great. Like I wrote down in my
I don't care if you're Kevin Owens or Ken Owens. He is, and I know a lot of people were so wanting him to go to the wrestling that is all elite when his contract expired. Listen, the one thing that I will agree with Samoa Joe with It's pro wrestling. Be happy for the talents, whether they're happy in AEW or happy in WWE. I think Kevin Owens now is showing his comedic side, and we like it. A lot of people are, yes, I understand. A lot of people just like the straight wrestling. Yes, wrestling is entertainment, but why were Ric Flair's promos so legendary year after year after year, especially in the WCW days? Because it was entertaining. You want to pay to see him appear and talk just as much as you wanted to see him wrestle, if not more than. Right. And I think Kevin Owens bring this. No, it's not Ezekiel. This is Ken Owens. You know that it's me. Yes, we all know what it is, but Kevin Owens is just like, you know what? Yeah, I know who it is. Hey, I could do this too. Check this out. And I think it's wonderful to see. And a lot of people, I saw people see, oh, he had this match with here. They just think it's the matches. No, Kevin Owens is still in that mid-top to lower top tier level. He's still there, and he's entertaining. And he's a part of what makes Raw must see every week. Yes, there are a lot of things on Raw that that people don't like, but like you said, people want to see Cody Rhodes, people want to see Kevin Owens, and they want to laugh and they want to have a good time. And when you see Kevin Owens, you cannot have a good time.
No, it's hilarious. Like I wrote down, play a drinking game.
And it gets Ezekiel over.
Yeah, take a shot every time he corrects the Ezekiel commentary team when he's at Ezekiel Elias. Elias.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, my name is Kevin Patrick. No, your name is Bert. That's your name.
I love it. Well, here's the other thing. Kevin Owens main evented WrestleMania with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes,
and yet people want to see him go to All Elite, so he could be relegated to being fourth fiddle to the Elite. Like, give me a break.
Which I will talk about in the critically acclaimed segment.
Indeed.
But listen, he's happy, he's having fun, and probably most important to him, he gets to be with his family.
Absolutely, I love it.
You can't lose. Can't lose.
Okay, let's talk about the main event storyline of the week, which kind of segues into the main event of Raw. So obviously the big storyline of the week, Sasha Banks and Naomi reportedly, and we don't have all of the facts yet, of course. They're just starting to come out. But from what we've seen, as reported on PW Insiders reported this, Bleacher Report has reported this, that this is not a work, that this is legitimate. Now, again, what is legitimate and what isn't in professional wrestling these days. But supposedly the story is that Sasha Banks and Naomi were not happy with their creative direction when they got to the arena on Monday. They found out that that Naomi was going to pin Sasha Banks, and she was going to end up putting Bianca Belair over at Hell in a Cell, with Sasha Banks eventually putting Ronda Rousey over at Hell in a Cell. And they just said, you know what? Nope, we're not doing this. They handed the women's tag team title belts back to John Laurinaitis and walked out and did not perform. And apparently this all happened within an hour of Raw going on the air. So they had to quickly scramble and put together some vignettes, and it ended up being Becky Lynch and Asuka, with Asuka now facing Bianca Belair at Hell in a Cell, which I cannot wait for. That is going to be a terrific match. So that part about it worked out. Now again, and Tony, this is one of the reasons I'm glad you're here, because you are in the business, and you
much to everyone's chagrin, I am in
right. Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything about that.
I can say it,
but so here's my thoughts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to get your response to this, because I see this two ways. One is, of course, you're somebody who is sticking up for themselves and saying, hey, this doesn't work. This doesn't work, and I feel that, you've put us in this situation where we've been really trying to build this women's tag team division. We're really trying to get this thing going. And now creative is saying, oh, just kidding. We're now going to have you put over our single stars who we're pushing right now. And they're like, no, this doesn't work for me, brother, to quote an old yeah. So I can see it that way, but also I see it like, you know what, you're an independent contractor. This is, here in WWE, we run the show, we tell you what to do, and you go out there and do it. That's how we've done it for a long, long, long time now. And they're basically independent contractors who refuse to do a job. So now my thought on this is this. And now if more facts come out, and as John Maynard Keynes, the Economist, says, when the facts change, so does my opinion. So if new facts come out, my opinion will change on this. But I have said for years that I think Sasha Banks is overrated. I think Sasha Banks.
I've heard you say that.
Yes, I think Sasha Banks. I refer to her as overrated Banks because and she has a history of this. If this was a first-time offense, fine. Then we can talk about it, and these things will smooth out. There's been a repeated pattern of this behavior. And for Sasha Banks to have this fan base that she does, but she's not, quote unquote, the face of the company or whatever, there's got to be something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. So to me, my initial reaction to all this is it's time for WWE to cut bait. It's time for WWE to say, you know what? Thanks, Sasha. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. And I think they let Sasha Banks go. Keep Naomi, because I think Naomi has, it's tricky too, because she's got some ties to Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso and stuff like that. I think you can take Naomi and make that work somehow, punish her a little bit, and then get her back. I've said she needs to be with the Bloodline for a long time. I think that could work out.
I think we both have said that.
Yeah, that could be amazing. And this is an easy way to get her into the Bloodline. But I think it's time for WWE to cut bait. They need to send Sasha Banks on her merry way. Let Sasha Banks go to Hollywood. Let Sasha Banks go to AEW, where I think her and AEW deserve each other for numerous reasons. But I think it's time. I think it's time for WWE to say, thanks, Sasha. You've been great. It's time to move on. So that's kind of my thought on all this. Tony, what do you think about this whole situation and what WWE should do?
You could understand, Brother Carter Derek Laurinaitis, that
I am director of operations, so
that is true.
I do understand this.
Yes, you know about people power.
People power.
People power. Which,
still,
by the way,
one of the great gimmicks of the 2010s. Sorry, but it was.
Which, by the way, you are free to come on my show. We'll rewind a whole episode.
We've got to do this. Yes. We have to do this at some point. I need to come on the Heat podcast.
Yes.
Oh my God! We'll set that up. My people will contact your people. We'll set it all up.
Yes. And I'll. Like you said, there's two ways of thinking about this. And you and I have both seen the support on both sides. There is a side, pro Sasha. She's doing what she's, standing up. She's doing what she believes is right, and to a certain extent, that's true.
And it's worked for other people in the past.
And it's worked for other people, yes. And I've seen people support the WWE side, where it's, hey, she's done this before. How many times you're going to do this? And then I've also seen the other side of, no, this is real. No, it's got to be a work, brother. They're working us. I've seen that. And, personally, on a personal level, I've had no complaints ever with Sasha Banks, black actors. That's our thing. We've done that. There's a story behind that too.
Dude, great Chappelle Show reference, by the way. Bravo.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. And hey, that was our thing. When that was our thing. Whenever I would be working, her matches or Sarat's matches. That was our thing. Hey, black actors. Hey, black actors, man, we gotta stick together. That was our thing. That was our thing in the locker room. So
great. When
it comes to this, there's three sides to this story. There's Naomi's side, there's Sasha's side, there's Vince McMahon's side, and the truth is somewhere in all of it. Here's my question. To the reports that went out there, because you and I have seen the same reports, and there was reports that Naomi was scheduled to win the six-pack challenge, and she was going to challenge Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. Sasha was going to, as part of the tag team titles going across all main roster brands, Sasha was going to challenge for Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So I personally would have loved to see both of those matches take place, because even if they had, then again, even if they had lost, there would have been some kind of negative narrative in between them saying that they're holding them back. But we would have been talking about them more. We would have wanted to see rematches. That was one of the reports that I saw. The problem with the elevation of the women's tag team championship, and we talked about partnerships and tag teams. So how many legitimate partnerships or tag teams besides Natalia and Shayna Baszler do you actually have in WWE? Who do you have besides them who are a team? And who else who's not involved in a storyline could you put together and believe in as viable challengers for the tag team titles? There's not many you can think of.
No.
So
if they are, I would think maybe in NXT, but I don't know.
But think about this. If you were able to do that in NXT, then why is there the creation of an NXT Women's Tag Team Championship in the first place?
Good point.
So that eliminates NXT from the deal. So now you just have to hang with Raw and SmackDown. And there's not many to pick from. And this has been going on from the elevation of the titles, or the wanted elevation of the titles, even before Sasha and Naomi were tag team champions. So this has been going on for a long time. What I would say is, and my other thing is this, with all of the noted walkouts, why would WWE put a statement out?
I thought about that too.
About this.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
Saying that we apologize for the for the advertisement of the main event. So that means either one of two things. Either this is, we apologize because, maybe that this main event was going to happen. Maybe they were going to give this six-pack challenge significant time at the end of the show, maybe 30, 35 minutes. And that way everybody would be talking about the entire gauntlet match as a whole, just like they did with the Rhea Ripley thing.
Right.
And people were talking about that. Maybe that they were invested in this match happening. So I think when it comes to this and WWE, nobody really knows. And nobody is going to know unless there is some kind of a WWE 24 Broken Skull session kind of a thing where we will get maybe 25% of what really happened. So both sides, in my view, are in the right. And also both sides, personally and professionally, could be in the wrong. So, and there was also a report that I saw that Sasha Banks and Naomi have been taking off of all scheduled live events until July.
I just saw that this morning too.
So if that's the case, then what really is the status of the Women's Tag Team Championship that are currently sitting on the front desk of John Laurinaitis' office? Because if I was John Laurinaitis, if I was running the company, and if somebody was a champion and had dropped the belt, if they had put the intellectual property of the championship belt on I can't say belt either, but I can here. If they put it on my desk, I would call Vince or anybody else. In the logistics, I would be like, Vince, I just spoke to Sasha and Naomi. Actually didn't speak to me. They dropped the belt on my desk, so we're going to vacate the titles immediately. The titles aren't even vacated. So, again, both parties in the right, both parties in the wrong professionally and personally. I think there's going to be a cooling off period and a long one. I think that the pro Sasha Banks supporters and the negative ones are going to be out in full force for this. I am going to stand back, let the hurricane come through, and just watch it all marinate, because, something is going to happen. And who knows, like you said, what if it does happen? And they do cut ties with her. She doesn't have to go to wrestling if she doesn't want to.
Of course not.
And then again, this was years ago, and which is true too, you always want to go somewhere where you're valued. So, if you don't, and yes, she's one of the names of the company. You cannot be, in my opinion, unfortunately, it's not the generation where you can be the name and the face of a company when there's so many other ones who are doing the same thing that you are. So it can't be like, it's like the 90s, because in the 90s in WWF, there was, you had your top tier guys: Rock, Austin, Hunter, Undertaker, Kane was in there, but those four guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you had your Trish, your Lita, you had your 1A, 1B, and then, you had your fine tool utility players, your Victorias, your Molly Hollies, your Jazzes, but you knew who they were. People know who Sasha Banks is, and she is one of the most recognizable faces and names in the company. So that cannot be denied. She's already reached that level. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be infinitely pissed off that they will never get the Sasha Banks Trish Stratus dream match. I would like to come on this show and say for the record that I never thought it was going to happen in the first place.
Of course not.
Because if this was prime Trish and prime Sasha, we would like to see that. And I think WWE has taken a stance on their dream matches lately, especially after the whole Undertaker Goldberg thing. But all said and done, I think there just needs to be a cooling off period. It needs to be a reevaluation, and all of the parties with an independent mediator need to sit down and figure out exactly what the hell we need to do. Either we want to be there, we need to do this, or we need to buy out our contract, or we need to do this. The future of both of them is uncertain at this point. WWE is always going to continue. That's the thing about WWE. They're always going to, if there's a hole in the tire, they're always going to patch it, or they're going to buy a new, better run flat tire. They're always going to do that.
No one person is bigger than the company.
Exactly. And they've always said that. And the company is full of people who are willing to work it. So, at this point, I think there's a cooling off period, and I think there's going to be a reevaluation period, and then we will see what happens at a later date.
Well said. That's a great way to put it. We don't know what's going to happen, and obviously the story is still a developing story.
It's evolving. We've talked about that. Yes.
Yeah. It is an evolving story. So great stuff this week, and great topics, great talk about this week in WWE. So before we transition to the flagship segment, say that 10 times fast. Do you want to talk a little bit about NXT or New Japan or anything? You mentioned you might want to talk a little bit about that.
So I'll make this quick if I can. NXT will be considered the Carmelo Hayes show, and I've said this a million times. I think a lot of people see this young man, whether it's Carmelo Hayes or Christian Casanova. I think a lot of people have seen him as one of the top faces in NXT. And I think overall, I wouldn't be surprised if Carmelo Hayes steps away from Trick Williams and becomes NXT champion. With that said, I think NXT really has gone back to the Vince McMahon model of trying to highlight the young talent, trying to highlight the younger talent is what they're doing with NXT and Level Up, and they're really trying to bring in the veterans who are, really willing to help out the young talent, like an Natalia and a Dolph Ziggler. And I think that NXT going forward, while it may not be the brand that you or so many other people are used to, especially me. You miss the black and gold and the toughness, and all of the mainstays in NXT have either gone off to AEW or another place. I think NXT right now is on the way up, and I think you need to take a look at people like a Braun Breaker. I've said Carmelo Hayes. By the way, he's another guy. Carmelo Hayes is another guy. Just to take a look and see at the talent, because they have some good talent. And no, it's not going to be perfect, but remember, they're in the system, they're learning, they're training, and expect this, NXT 2.0, the talents that are there, they're going to be rapidly improving within the next year. Also, keep your eyes on Level Up. I haven't had a chance to check out Level Up, but most of the talents who maybe aren't featured on NXT every week, they're going to be on Level Up. Roxanne Perez, who was the Ring of Honor World Women's Champion at the time, she's definitely a prodigy. She's 21 years old. Sloan Jacobs, she's another one. There's a lot of talent that are going to be involved in the NXT system. I think people need to pay attention to, and the reason why I pay attention to is if you get a chance, kind of go back and see their stuff before NXT. Kind of value the history of why these people got to where they did. You do it for Danielson, you do it for Daniels, you do it for all the main guys. Take a look at these young guys too. Don't let their WWE work define them just because they're there. When it comes to New Japan, and I'll say this for Josh Lopez, who's taking some time off. Best of the Super Juniors, kids. The best of the Super Juniors. And yes, I am talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling. I've actually gotten into a lot of New Japan in my library as of late because I like to see the evolution of the product. Wrestle Kingdom this year really got me involved in it. I've always heard of New Japan, but it really got me invested into the last couple of years of it. I will say that I now have in my possession the last 5 years of New Japan, including the match that Derek wanted to watch, which is the Okada Omega 65-minute deal. So we will watch that on my show. Yeah, but the best of the Super Juniors, if you guys don't know what the best of Super Juniors is, it is a round robin style tournament, which, by the way, if you always wondered why WWE only does single elimination tournaments instead of the round robin deal, I think round robin is a lot more fun. There's a point system and tiebreakers, basically two blocks of wrestlers. Everybody will face everybody in that block. And the winner of the A block will meet the winner of the B block in the finals, and the winner of that will get an IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match, I believe either at Dominion or a future one. And this one goes back to the original Super Juniors, which I know the last kind of best of the Super Juniors was kind of limited to only New Japan because of the COVID pandemic. But now with you have Ace Austin from Impact Wrestling, Clark Connors from the LA Dojo, Wheeler Yuta is also in the best of the Super Juniors, and then of course you have New Japan stalwarts. You have Sho, Hiromu Takahashi, who could win it for the third time as best of the Super Juniors. And remember, people like Will Ospreay, he's won the best of the Super Juniors, and he's gone on to be Junior Heavyweight Champion and IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. So a lot of big things can happen out of the best of the Super Juniors. Especially you have people like Yo from Roppongi 3K, and one of the best of the Super Juniors. He was on he lost the first 3 matches of his block, won the next 7 in a row in his block, and made it to the finals. Shingo Takagi, who was borderline junior heavyweight / heavyweight, but he was he was on the cusp. He was undefeated in New Japan, including the entire Best of the Super Junior bracket until he suffered his first loss in New Japan in the finals. So the Best of the Super Juniors, I think, is a great tournament. In my opinion, New Japan has the best junior heavyweight wrestling on the planet, with great talent, and it's a storyline. There's definitely an emotional Super Juniors match with Rocky Romero and El Phantasmo, because El Phantasmo was undefeated, carried a hunk of metal in his boot for over a year, and then Rocky Romero gave El Phantasmo his first loss in the Best of the Super Juniors. Even though he didn't win it, Rocky ended up with, I think, 4 or 6 points, but got the most emotional win of his career. And he main evented Kurikan Hall, and people were, crying, and it was great. So check out the Best of the Super Juniors. They're gonna, and the good thing about the Best of the Super Juniors is it's not just one night; it's a series of shows that goes into the finals. It's the same way with the G1 Climax. It's the same way with the World Tag League, Super Junior Tag League. So definitely check out, if you can, Best of the Super Juniors. Check out, people like Ace Austin, TJP is in the Best of Super Juniors.
Nice.
Francisco Akira, he's in the Best of Super Juniors as well. You have people like Doki, El Desperado, Yoshinobu Kanemaru. So you've got some good Americans in there, good gaijin, but you also have some great New Japan and people that they haven't seen before entering their first Best of the Super Juniors. So you definitely want to check that out. And as a matter of fact, I will be having, when he returns, I will be having Josh Lopez on my show, Heat the Wrestling Podcast, and we will cover the Best of the Super Juniors, I believe, at least until the either semifinals or finals or whichever. But I definitely want to have Josh on to cover New Japan. We're going to do some New Japan rewinds as well. And Derek, we're definitely going to have you on as well. You and I will do the Okada Omega, but definitely check out New Japan, and don't sleep on New Japan, because their storytelling, I think, especially in-ring storytelling, definitely rivals with any major American promotion.
Beautifully said. Now I'm excited for New Japan. Now I might need to go check this out.
I'm telling you, there's. And we talked about Robbie Eagles. Quick story. This goes into the emotion deal. Robbie Eagles was a member of Bullet Club at the time, and El Phantasmo they were actually both members of Bullet Club. And what happened was El Phantasmo was, I believe, undefeated in that same Best of Super Juniors, I believe 2019. And El Phantasmo beat Robbie Eagles. Robbie Eagles had a match with Will Ospreay, which El Phantasmo had a hand in giving Robbie Eagles the victory over Ospreay. So that win alone, which I love the tiebreakers, that win alone puts 4 points in between the leader, Phantasmo, and Ospreay. But it puts Robbie Eagles and Robbie Eagles and El Phantasmo, they're tied at the block. They're ahead on points. They're leading the block on points. But because El Phantasmo beat Robbie Eagles, he owns a tiebreaker over Robbie Eagles at the time. So wins are definitely very important in the Best of the Super Juniors. And because of that match, that actually caused Robbie Eagles in the future to leave Bullet Club and join Chaos. So there's a lot of emotion that can happen in the Best of the Super Juniors, especially when it comes to the finals. And I think when there's certain matches that I will put you onto when we do our rewinds, and you'll really get to see the emotion in New Japan. It'll really make you follow along with the matches. And one of the things I like about New Japan is that there's no unlike most promotions, there's no complication to finding somebody to invest your time in.
I love it. I'm excited. I can't wait to do that.
Now it's flagship time.
It is time to transition because there's some door that's going to be forbidden between the two. But it is time. We're going to walk through the forbidden door to transition to the flagship segment of our show. It is time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. And we're going to get things started in a 3, a 2, a 1. It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. Yeah.
This is going to be good.
Oh, my God.
Just makes you feel good, you know?
It does. It's a very uplifting theme song.
Yes, it is.
It's very uplifting before we bring things down to a screeching halt very, very, very quickly. But Tony, it is time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW, as Josh would say, aka what isn't wrong with AEW. And if you watched this week's program, this was a big what isn't wrong with AEW. You could almost say what the fuck is wrong with AEW based on this week's program. But
that's completely different segment.
A few things that I enjoyed, and I want to just briefly go over the things that I enjoyed really this week. I want to get your thoughts, Tony, on what you enjoyed about this week, about the show this week. For me, I think there was some actually good in-ring competition this week. Nice surprise to see John Morrison. Yes. Not Johnny Gargano, despite what the internet and reporting. That was my favorite part about it.
Lied again.
The crowd popped because they saw Johnny. Oh yeah, and then they saw Morrison and were like, "Oh, yay, John Morrison, woo!"
Yeah, I like how they turned on it in the first 45. They're like, "Yeah, how many names this guy got?"
Yeah. So, but nice surprise to see him. That was cool. I enjoyed the match with Adam Page and Takashita. I've never seen Takashita perform before, and I thought, wow, he's very talented in the ring.
Yeah,
so
he is.
That was cool. I enjoyed that. What can we say about MJF that we haven't said already? Like another stellar segment from one of the best.
Money on the mic is MJF.
What'd you say?
Money on the mic is MJF.
My God. One of the best in the world, like bar none. He is top 5 in the world right now, no doubt about it. And I thought a good match between Kyle O'Reilly and Rey Fenix as well. What did you like? What did you like this week from Dynamite?
Again, MJF at the top of the list. I really like how his feud with Wardlow is going because I think everybody's waiting to see that big fall that MJF is looking for. And I don't think anybody expected it to come from Wardlow, but I think that is going to happen on a big stage. And fans I think people were waiting, almost begging for a reason to get behind Wardlow. And I think support for him is growing every week. They're invested in him, and I like that. Again, Adam Page and Adam Page's match, that was very good. I like that. I think Punk on commentary added to it.
Yep.
I also very nice subtle nudge wink on the go to sleep.
Yes,
I did like that.
Same.
You know, I think the go to sleep honestly was a little bit better than CM Punk's buckshot lariat. But I did like that. I think those were my main 2 takeaways from it. You know, everything was a little bit here and there, but I think when it all leads to Double or Nothing, I want to see. All right, I know my main things are Punk going after the World Championship and MJF. Those are the 2 big things.
Right.
And those are the 2 big things to me that as an AEW fan, want me to buy this pay-per-view. Because if the headliners aren't going to make me buy it, I'm not going to buy it.
Well, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, is what reasons do we have besides that to purchase the pay-per-view? We're going to get to that in just a little bit. The other thing I liked about Punk on commentary is I think he kept calling it the Punk shot lariat, which I thought was
like that. Yeah, I like that.
That was a nice touch as well. So I thought that was great. But now, Tony, let's get into it. And what the hell is wrong with AEW? Okay, so let's go back to this opening match. So we've got Johnny Elite, who everybody thought it was going to be Johnny Gargano.
And we're thoroughly disappointed.
And it was, which to me, I
loved it.
When I realized what had happened, because I saw Johnny Elite and then thought, oh, okay, cool. John Morrison, great, fine. And then it took me a while to be like, wait a minute. They thought it was Gargano. And I laughed my ass off. I thought that was hilarious. Once again, the internet wrestling marks and certain publications who report facts as facts were proven wrong by AEW. Shocking, I know. So here's the thing. Samoa Joe, he's a thing. I wouldn't have known that based on previous weeks of television because he gets a couple of minutes in a backstage vignette and I'm supposed to invest in him. And then with Johnny Elite, it's like, okay, you have a great match. You have a good match between two great wrestlers, but Johnny Elite is going to fade into relegation and be nothing after one match. So what was the point? Why wouldn't you not put somebody that you're trying to build up in that position? Like a Sammy Guevara, like a Ricky Starks. And I know they're involved with other programs by now, but you could have had the way AEW books, you could have put them in there in a one-off match with Samoa Joe with like a Guevara, a Ricky Starks, or somebody like that, Powerhouse Hobbs or somebody like that. Instead, you go for the moment as opposed to building up your own talent. And that's only going to take you so far as a company.
And what I would have done is I would have expanded the tournament. And I would have given those people that you just mentioned an opportunity to be in the tournament.
Yes.
You know, and I would have loved to see a Powerhouse Hobbs Samoa Joe match.
Yeah, me too.
You know, and that would have been a tournament match. But it just seems like, you know, the headliners get all the spots in the tournament. I would have expanded it, made it a little bit longer, and given some of those people that you don't really see on television an opportunity to be on a space like that.
Right, because, I mean, again, I think AEW tries to market itself to the hardcore fan, which is fine, but that's only a very, very, very small percentage of the entire wrestling fan base. You know, like, yep. I'm a casual, I'm like casual fan plus, you know, like, yeah. You know, so like,
yeah, you were a casual fan. Everybody was casual before they became hardcore.
Right. And, you know, most weeks I watch Raw and SmackDown and Dynamite, and that's it. Like, and the pay-per-views. Right. I don't watch Rampage. I don't watch Dark. I don't watch Elevation. So I don't know who half these people are. Like, and we'll get to that here in a little bit when we get to the female Joker side of it. But so that was my thing about that. Okay. Is it possible to have one backstage interview in AEW that isn't interrupted by somebody?
No.
It seems like every time Schiavone does an interview backstage, he's interrupted by somebody.
Or an interview at all.
Right. He's interrupted. Like once in a while, fine. But it seems like every interview they're interrupted. And I'm like, what are you trying to do here? Like, it's the whole gimmick thing with AEW. Like if you use it once in a while, it's a gimmick and it enhances it. But when you
do it every week, it's watered down.
Correct, which is what has happened with the table match and the ladder match and the this and the that. And you get like we talk about this every week. There's a post-match brawl. It seems like in every segment. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
No, because if it's not executed well, it takes the entire match that you wanted to see. It takes that fire out of it. And you're right back to square one all over again.
Oh, my God. Okay. All right. Okay. I want to talk about Adam Page. And Adam Page, who may be, sadly, because I like Adam Page, he may be the least efficient champion in any promotion right now, or the least believable champion in any major promotion right now. And you get into his feud with CM Punk. Who am I supposed to cheer for in this? You have 2 weeks ago, Adam Page comes out, cuts a heel promo for some stupid reason. Then the next week, he's cheered wildly. Punk cuts a heel promo. And now they both come out this week, and they're both cheered as amazing baby faces. Like, who am I supposed to cheer for in this storyline? Who am I supposed to root for to win this match? I just don't get it. Here, and then here's the other thing about, talking about booking. Why is the world champion, supposedly your top person, booked on the second match of the show? Traditionally, the worst position on a show. You either want to be first
or you want to be last, right?
He was booked second. Your world champion was booked second. None of this storyline makes sense to me. What do you think?
Not just the world champion. If you want to be real about it, the world championship match in general, advertised for your pay-per-view, was featured second on the show. The champion was wrestling and the challenger was on commentary. Second. Not in the important spots. Also, when it comes to Adam Page, and we talked about casuals, I would like to know, when it comes to Adam Page as a casual fan, who is this guy? Why? Listen, I know who Adam Page is. I have the library to prove it. But as a casual fan, who is Adam Page? What's his story? And why? How did he become AEW World Champion? And why am I believing him in a match against CM Punk? Because most of the casual fans who probably have one known wrestling fan, hardcore, in their friend zone, has probably told them more about CM Punk than Adam Page.
Correct.
So as AEW, just like with all of their champions, not just the world champion, but I want to know, who is this guy? Who is Adam Page? Who is his champion? Why does it mean much to them to defend this championship? And I don't want to hear it on a countdown show that I have to buy the pay-per-view to see it, to figure out my explanation. I want you to on Dynamite, on major TV time, either a sit-down interview or a video package. I want to know who this guy is, what's his story, what did he do to get to be AEW champion, and what is he willing to do to stay there? That's what I want to know.
Correct.
And I feel like I don't get that.
Well, again, it's because AEW markets itself to the hardcore fan. But at some point, the hardcore fan is going to run out, is going to lose interest, is going to stop pumping money into this company. But Tony Khan is going to still be expected to pay exorbitant amounts of money to all of their talent. So at some point, the business side of it, the
rubber's going to meet the road somewhere.
At some point, there's going to be like, okay, well, we don't have money coming into this company, but we still need to overpay these talent that we signed to these lucrative deals. So now what? At some point, the bottom's going to fall out. Like you said, the rubber's going to meet the road at some point. So I don't know. It just seems like Adam Page is the biggest example of a transitional champion I've seen in a long time. And
through no fault of Adam Page.
No, absolutely. That's what I was about to say.
Right.
And it's not his fault. It's been terrible booking. And it's been, again, and I like Adam Page. I want him to be successful.
It's the presentation that he's been placed in.
Right. And that's not his fault. Now, to be fair, we've seen that in WWE as well.
Yes. Yeah. And we talked about that on this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So but again, if this was the company that was supposedly going to change everything, and yet here we are. Okay, here's another thing. Why are Fuego del Sol and Dark Order now calling out House of Black? I thought House of Black was now feuding with either Death Triangle or the Varsity Blondes, who Varsity Blondes were not featured on television this week after House of Black beat them down and had Julia Hart almost strike Brian Pillman Jr. with a chair. I was like, oh, we may have something here. And then they weren't featured on television this week. At least for the last few weeks, they haven't been featured on television. So where is this going? What's the point?
I don't think anybody knows.
No.
I would have known if more had happened last night, because this thing has been going on for a while now. And unfortunately, it's going to get to a point where the big thing is going to happen and nobody's going to be surprised.
And nobody's going to care.
Nobody's going to care.
Yeah,
and that's what we, as wrestling fans, whether you're WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor, whichever the case may be, which I have a take on Ring of Honor, we want to care. We need to care. We are, as fans, we're paying our money. We're watching. We're paying $200 a month for basic cable because we're taking our time to watch you. So what are you doing to make me care?
Correct. And right now in AEW, there is one storyline that I care about. And I'm sure for most people, there's only one storyline that people really want to see. And I think that was next on the segment. Well, it doesn't matter because wherever it was at the top of the hour. And it was MJF, of course, who, as we say this,
right.
And by the way, Wardlow took those shots like a champ.
Yes, he did.
Hell, that was awesome. And Wardlow played his part amazingly well.
And he's going to continue to do so.
Yes, he is. So that was terrific. So we don't need to rehash that. That was fantastic. Okay, we talked about Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland in the questions, which was great. And they can beat up jobbers, which is fantastic. But when are we going to see them against real competition on television? Because I don't know about you, but I'm not going to pay $60 for this pay-per-view to see them in a trios tag team match with Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. I'm not going to pay for that. I don't care. That is, to me, is not worth $60 for this pay-per-view. So when are we?
I would much rather like to see Swerve Strickland challenge Ricky Starks for the FTW Championship, but that's besides me, and that's pay-per-view quality.
That's correct. But we're going to get to see a trios match between them and Jungle Boy next week on Dynamite. Like, to me, that's a pay-per-view worthy event, not this tag team match that we're going to be seeing. So I don't know. This doesn't make any sense to me. Okay.
I know where this is going. Yeah, I know where this is going.
Well, maybe it's one of two. I'm going to take. We'll see if you were right here. The Jericho Appreciation Society does it yet again. I said this before. I now see why WWE got rid of 2.0. I'm sorry, Everrise. Well, 2.0. 2.0. Jake Hager. I now see why WWE got rid of them. They suck. They're terrible. And Jericho. Nothing Chris Jericho does anymore has any relevance at all. He has
felt that way for a while.
Dude, his dive, his fall from grace has been like the Roadrunner falling off the cliff. Like it was.
Listen, I believe more in the Roadrunner.
Or sorry, the Coyote rather. The Coyote falling off the cliff.
Yeah.
This is, oh my God. And then this Blackpool Combat Club, which, by the way, for some reason, they're building up Wheeler Yuta, and he wasn't on television this week. So
no, because he was at the Best of Super Juniors. That's why.
But did AEW bring that up? No. They didn't say, "Hey, Wheeler Yuta's not here because he's representing us in this tournament."
In New Japan, which they have a pay-per-view with next month.
But oh my God, Tony, this was a train wreck. Both of these factions are tragic, mostly the Jericho Appreciation Society, though. This was awful. I didn't care about this at all. This was terrible. What did you think about this?
I was not a fan of that. I'm more invested in the Blackpool Combat Club, specifically because whenever William Regal is saying anything, it is gold, and I watch it.
Yeah,
but and if anybody who really knows the meaning of the Blackpool Combat Club, it's Regal. So he's going to be able to explain that for us. I don't need to hear anything from Danielson or Moxley or Yuta about it. It's Regal I want to know about, and Regal does that well. But the Jericho Appreciation Society, as a group, as a faction, is not established. The Blackpool Combat Club is not established yet because you got to have moments and matches and struggles and victories as a group to do that. And that's not there yet. And at some point, again, I'm going to have to believe in, the Jericho Appreciation Society, which in my opinion is just a vehicle for everybody in the group to turn on Jericho anyway. And for the Blackpool Combat Club, I see that as having a little bit of longevity, but they need to be on their own, evolving their group stories first before they even have any kind of air with any kind of faction anywhere. To me, that I would have been done with that whole segment. And by the way, with Everrise and all that, the way I see it is this. That's a team that should be in your tag team division, since you cannot get any challengers for your World Tag Team Champions So that would be right there. That would be a tag team that could actually work in it.
There you go.
But hey, what do I know? No.
They're stuck playing second fiddle to Chris Jericho, who's
Okay. By
now,
the way, the Fall from Grace is the new name of the Walls of Jericho. Is that what you said?
Bravo! Yes, that's exactly well done. I'm stealing that. I hope you haven't. I hope you haven't copyrighted that because I'm totally stealing it.
No, but we'll, like you said, our people will talk to your people. And you can steal that whenever you want.
Do some contract negotiations.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Speaking of, who the hell is Maki Ito?
Okay, let me. I'm just going to say this right now.
Go ahead.
Can they, in my opinion, you have now conditioned professional wrestling fans, and I'm not against her, but you've now conditioned professional wrestling fans to believe that the Joker is going to be somebody big, somebody noteworthy, somebody important. The word Joker means the same as the quotes, Tony Khan has a big/huge announcement. In my opinion, don't even say Joker anymore. Do what WWE does. Put a vacant image there. Let them come out, because you're raising professional wrestling fans' expectations until they come out and they're just like, oh well, it's just a feeder for Britt Baker. Just so at this point, why not give Britt Baker, since she was technically, well, which in my opinion, no champion should be in the Owen Hart tournament. So in any event, why don't you just do a storyline where Britt Baker wins a match, a non-tournament match, because she didn't have an opponent, wins a non-tournament match and gets a first round bye.
Thank you.
But nobody does that. You have to do the Joker. And then I see on social media, oh, I thought it was going to be this name or this big free agent. Just disappointed. Listen, I have no problem with the talent that they're using, but don't use the word Joker and raise the fans' expectations and have them dashed and smashed to the ground because they wanted somebody and you didn't give it to them.
That happened twice on the show. Because again, this is
Gargano.
You're right. This is the problem with AEW. This is what they do. They're simply trying to create moments, and they're not trying to build their stars. They're trying to get the, oh, look who we brought in. Look how great we are. Fine. Now what?
Yeah.
But go shit. This person. Yeah, great. Now what?
Now what? Exactly.
And then you don't see them on TV for a while. So anyways, this match was what it was. I didn't know. I have no idea who the hell this was. And then we get the Serena Deeb Thunder Rosa promo because the women's segment always has to be right before the main event.
Okay, let me say something about this. Schiavone now, in my opinion, just does every kind of backstage promo or every interview in general just for him to get verbally humiliated by whichever talent that he's put in front of him. Save Schiavone, put him back on commentary, or put him in situations like doing interviews and getting to know the talent. That would work for Schiavone. But if he's going to get verbally assaulted by Serena Deeb and being called an idiot and all of that, what's the point of having him out there then? Just have Serena Deeb cut off Justin Roberts and have her take the interview time. And speaking of that, one thing I was interacting with somebody on social media about the what chance came out for this promo. The what chance is now the wrestling fans' chance of I don't care.
Yep.
I don't care what you have to say. Move. You're not who I want to see right now. Move on to somebody else.
Yep.
And that's what it was. No offense to Serena Deeb or Dustin Rhodes, because it wasn't meant for them. But you put Shivani in a bad spot, and the fans did not care about the segment in the arena. The broadcasters made it account and they cared about it, but the fans in the arena didn't, because they basically chanted about it, and it just took the whole steam out of the whole segment.
Agreed. I agree with it. Yeah. Okay. And then the final thing we have, really quick, I'll read Josh's quick contribution to what the hell is wrong. And basically it was the format from the show, and you can pretty much book it every single week. The official AEW Dynamite outline. CM Punk or Adam Cole starts, followed by the Blackpool Combat Club, followed by MJF, followed by Tony Schiavone and Officer Bar Brady backstage to hype up Rampage.
Nothing to see here.
Multi-person tag match to pad stats with no story. Jericho Appreciation Society, Spot Fest or another multi-person tag, women's match, backstage with Jade Cargill or the Hardly Boys, Excalibur plugs, and then a main event with the ROH titles, no DQ matches, or never the main story, which is basically the format of AEW every single week. And this week's episode was pretty close to that. So good job, Josh. Thanks.
Yep, and lackluster beatdowns to close down the show as well, with gaining no momentum.
Which
happened this week. And one other thing about, because I said something about Ring of Honor, so I'm just going to say this.
Yep.
Why you acquired Ring of Honor?
Yep.
So you have the company, you have the video library, you have the intellectual properties, you have the titles. So you're booking the Ring of Honor champions on your show. Yes, they're defending the titles, but what about the promotion as a whole? Are they going to get TV time? Are they going to be able to flourish outside of AEW? Or is AEW just a way to put themselves one up on Ring of Honor? If you're going to acquire a company, at least give them the opportunity to thrive separately. That's my take on it. And like I said, I just want things to go right and well. And, but when you're booking Ring of Honor champions in a company like AEW, then I would expect Samoa Joe to get maybe a AEW World Championship match against either Hangman Page or CM Punk, or Mercedes Martinez against Thunder Rosa, and even though that match had already happened. So, if you're going to have Ring of Honor into a company and acquire them and obtain the video library and the intellectual properties, without the TV time, what's the point of acquiring the company in the first place? At least give them an opportunity to thrive separately and independently away from AEW, because AEW is still trying to build an identity. You can't build an identity when you've acquired a existing company that already has one. You just can't do it. And like I said, I have no problem with Samoa Joe or anybody becoming champion, but I'm thinking about the company as a whole. I'm thinking about the opportunities for talent, for AEW talent, or maybe other talent that's not in AEW. But the bottom line is this: when it comes to Ring of Honor, AEW has yet to firm base build an identity. And you can't acquire a company who already has an identity and expect that company to thrive when you yourself as a company don't have an identity yet. And I would want Ring of Honor to at least be able to thrive separately for the betterment of the business. Because otherwise, what's the point of acquiring it? So, but other than that, I think you and I pretty much hit on the hits and misses of the wrestling week.
Indeed. And then just real quick, we get Adam Cole and Jeff Hardy in the main event, which some people considered a dream match, except they gave it about 8 minutes, and Adam Cole attacked Hardy from behind. And this was all to set up the aforementioned, the unavoidable match between the Hardy Boys and the Hardly Boys at Double or Nothing, which supposedly would be a dream match, but they haven't announced it, and the pay-per-view is in less than 2 weeks. So there's that. So I'm sure they'll announce this. And again, I don't know what reason I have to purchase this pay-per-view, but sure.
It may come up.
We'll see. So
yeah, we'll see.
Anything I forgot? Anything we missed? Anything else we need to talk about?
Nope. I think in the world of hit or miss, I think we hit on this one.
Yeah, we hit on this one too. So, but AEW missed. Let's get out of here.
At least we have the music to
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. Oh, boy. Hey, Jericho's still a wizard. Did you know that?
Really? I mean, I think he always has been at one point. I think the words "oh boy" that you put out, I think that summed it up pretty much.
Yeah. Hey, we ran a little bit longer than usual this week, but this has been awesome. Tony, thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing your expertise and wisdom with all of us. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you. Where can people find you on the socials?
They can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, you name it. I'm on it. It's at Referee Tony S. There's only one, and if there's another one, please report it. Other than that, I am doing a either Heat the Wrestling Podcast or the Heat Wrestling Podcast, whichever name it goes by these days. I'll have to talk to my executive producer about that.
It's your show. You should probably.
Yes, but I say it on one term and the graphics say another. So trying to keep everything uniform.
I got you, Sid. So you're a liar, is what you're saying.
I'm not a liar, just trying to put out the truth uniformly. And don't ever call me a liar, because I'm still awaiting a performance evaluation. So
it's coming. It's
that's
coming.
Right. That's right. But you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Referee Tony S. You can check out Heat the Wrestling Podcast on Twitter. That's at the Heat Pod. Names, suggestions for segments, rewinds. You can check those out at theheatpod@gmail.com. They're on all podcast platforms. Good Pod, Spotify, you name it, we're on it. And if we're not on it, ask for it. We definitely appreciate your support, and definitely check us out. Spread the word. As far as my refereeing goes, you can inquire at refereetonyS@gmail.com. Serious inquiries only. I will be in actually my booking schedule for May is complete. I have one live event June 4th in Northampton, Massachusetts, one live event June 10th in Hudson, Massachusetts. I will be planning on being in Charlotte, North Carolina in August for a huge 4-day wrestling convention, live event, and all of that. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be, 75, 100 names there, vendors, meet and greet tables, all that. I'll be reporting and giving you some updates on my show once that becomes concluded. But again, Referee Tony S on Twitter is the main way to get at me. Really looking forward to talking and conversing with all of you. And again, just a pleasure for me to be on it, and to be on the Hoots Podcast, and to share the same space with Brother Adam / Brother Carter / Derek Stoughton / Brother Derrico, Brother Laurinaitis, whatever you want to call him these days. But definitely a pleasure for me to share the space with you. It really means a lot.
Oh, we appreciate you, man, so much. For your performance evaluation, you get an A. Absolutely. Your stories, your expertise, your knowledge. You even did better than Lopez on his performance evaluation. So I may have to reshuffle the card. I may have to, reprioritize the list here. The internal rankings, if you will.
Man. Hey, rankings are very important. Well, listen. To us.
Yeah, to us. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Boy. Anyways, you can follow me on Twitter at Derek Stoughton. You can follow me on Instagram at Derrico06. Check out all my work on DerekStoughton.com. You can see what I do in my real life job, my real life work. You can also check out my stuff on WrestlingRumors.net, where I am a pundit and occasional reporter of stuff that we try to make sure is factual, or at least out there for the world to see. We try. Yes, our site is Wrestling Rumors, so we occasionally touch on rumors, but mostly we try to report facts. So be sure to check me out there as well. I am looking forward to being on an upcoming edition of the Heat Podcast with Tony. I am looking forward to the match. I've heard mythical stories about this 74-star match between Okada and Omega.
So one thing about the Heat Wrestling Podcast is we like to do rewinds and take you back to history, whether it's a favorite match or a moment, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so Derek wanted to, when we were talking about this months ago, wanted to see the critically acclaimed match between Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. So this was before I had even any of that time period of New Japan in my library. Well, that's changed now, because specifically, partly thanks because of you, I decided to go back, and that match was included in it. So we will watch in full with American commentary, but we will be commentating over it.
Okay.
And yes, Don Callis is part of the American commentary
Damn it!
team. But we do have we've got Kevin Kelly saving us.
Okay, great.
So,
okay, fine.
But we will be commentating we will be watching over the match in full, in its entirety, that championship match that we talked about, and that'll be on a future episode of my show. And once that comes out, we'll definitely put it out to all the platforms.
Awesome. Be sure to follow our host, Josh Lopez, at Josh Lopez Media. Follow him on Instagram as well. Check out Josh Lopez Media. Also check out Josh Lopez Music on Instagram as well, where you can see Josh's guitar covers. If this is your first time to listen to the Hoots Podcast, thank you so much for giving this podcast a chance. Be sure to check it out wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all the usual places. Be sure to leave us a 4 or 5 star review. It helps us move up the ranks and get more exposure for the show. If you have any feedback, we certainly welcome your feedback and would love to know what you would like to see more of here on the Hoots Podcast. And it's been an absolute blast to get to do this today. So for Joshie, for referee Tony S., I am Brother Carter. Don't forget to be the authentic product that is yourself. Josh will be back next week taking over the reins, and you can pretty much just see which host you like the best. So for Josh, for Tony, I am Brother Carter. Keep it real, y'all, and we'll see you next week. Yes, sir.